Dr. Umar, welcome back, my man.
Glad to be back. Glad to be back. Black May, spring is here.
Yes, indeed. So much I want to ask you, man. So much to get into. I don't want to waste no time, and I want to get right into it. Gotta ask you, these voting rights, what's going on with that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The United States Supreme Court handed down a decision on April the 29th of this year. It was the same day as Game 5 of the first round NBA playoff series between the Houston Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers. And I'm bringing that up, Art, because I don't think that was a coincidence. If you follow American racism, America's anti-Black racism, you know that they often like to release major landmark decisions and pieces of information into the society when they feel that Black people are most likely to be distracted with some irrelevant activities. And so that Game 5 was a big deal for NBA heads. They wanted to see if Kevin Durant would come back and play, which he didn't, but it was a big distraction. And so the Supreme Court on April the 29th of 2026 handed down a decision, 6 in favor, 3 against, to gut, to strip, to modify, to neutralize Section 2 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Now, if we go back, Art, to 1965, we're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we're talking about the civil rights struggle, we're talking about the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, we're talking about the Congress of Racial Equality, we're talking about the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, we're talking about Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer and the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Even though the Civil Rights Bill had been passed, Art, in 64, Black people were still disenfranchised at the election booth. The Civil Rights Bill only forced desegregation in public accommodations, right? Restaurants, buses, lunch counters, that kind of a thing. Hotels, movie theaters, public accommodations. But we were still being prevented from voting. So Dr. King told President Lyndon Baines Johnson, you need to do this, because if you don't do it, your Democratic Party will suffer as a result of it at the election polls. So it was right after Bloody Sunday, that march in Selma, Alabama, over the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where a lot of our ancestors and elders were attacked. It was after that that Lyndon Baines Johnson stood up to the U.S. Congress and said that we need to get this done. So the Voting Rights Act was passed, Art, and Section 2 of that Voting Rights Act said you cannot discriminate against Black people in voting. You can't give them voting tests. You can't give them a poll test, a poll tax. You cannot make it difficult for Black people to vote, nor can you obstruct their ability to choose who they want at the election polls. Now, it's been 60 years since the Voting Rights Act, Art, and in 60 years, the Supreme Court has largely, but not all the time, largely, and U.S. Congress has largely upheld the ability for a state to protect or create an all-Black voting district to make sure Black people have the right to choose a candidate of their choice. You with me so far? So for 60 years, if you have an all-Black voting district, Art, like Memphis, Tennessee, that is a predominantly Black, highly concentrated voting block, voting district. Well, guess what? What happened was the state of Louisiana decided to create a second majority Black district. And the reason, Art, they decided to create a second majority Black district is because Louisiana is 33% Black. So they reasoned, logically and correctly, if our state is more than a third Black, Why do we only have one majority black voting district? We need another. So they said, okay, we're going to create a second majority black voting district so black people will have more voice over who they choose to represent them at the State House and in the U.S. Congress. So guess what the white supremacists did, Art? They decided to sue. They said, we don't agree with this, that the Constitution requires colorblind politics. They said the Constitution doesn't allow you to use race as a factor in drawing district maps. So they sued to the Supreme Court. On April the 29th, 6 justices of the 9 voted to overturn most of Section 2 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And their logic, Art, was this. They say, and I'm paraphrasing, even though for almost 60 years, this government has held that it was perfectly legal and constitutional to protect and create all black voting districts, this court in 2026 holds that it is unconstitutional to create an all black voting district if the primary purpose of the creation of that district was to give black people a voice. They're saying now, Art, that that is unconstitutional and that Louisiana can break up the all black district as long as their reason for doing so isn't primarily motivated by a fact to disenfranchise black voters. In other words, Art, you can't create an all black district on purpose, but you can break up an all black district. And the only way somebody can do something about it is if they can prove that you are being deliberately racist. Now check this part out, Art, because this is important. The Supreme Court maintains that a racist effect is not unconstitutional, only a racist intent. In other words, Art, if you break up an all black voting district and that leads to the underrepresentation of black people in an election, that is not unconstitutional. You can break up an all black district unless they can prove you did it intentionally for racist reasons. Now, Art, you and I know you cannot prove racist intent. You prove racist intent by racist outcomes and racist results and racist conclusions. But the Supreme Court is saying a racist outcome is not unconstitutional. A racist conclusion is not unconstitutional. The only thing that is unconstitutional is racist intent. And they basically said, Art, that the United States Constitution does not allow you to use race as a factor in drawing voting maps. Now, you and I know the whole purpose or big purpose of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, 1868, was to make sure black people had a voice, to make sure not only that they could vote, but that they could elect representatives and senators of their choice. So if you break up a predominantly black district, Art, even though black people can still vote, because their votes are not congregated, because we are only 13 to 17% of the country, you basically eliminate our ability to choose the person that we want. And according to the United States Supreme Court, they are saying that the United States Constitution and the Voting Rights Act never guaranteed black people a right to a predominantly black voting district. It only guaranteed black people a right to vote. You see the difference there, Art? You can vote, but you do not have a right to an all black district. Now, you're going to say most districts in America are mostly white, because they are. So why can't black people have an all black voting district if most voting districts in America are white anyway? And the Supreme Court would argue, they became white not intentionally, just as a result of American population. So it's not racist because it wasn't done with racist intent. But if you intentionally create an all-black district to give black people a voice, that's somehow unconstitutional. Look at the double standard, Art. Look at the double standard. So now, as a result of that, all the state legislatures in the South, Art, they said, wait a minute, we can break up an all-black district as long as they can't prove that we did it intentionally for racist reasons to block out black people's ability to influence who they want to represent them. The Supreme Court said if they can't prove you did it intentionally as a racist action, it's not unconstitutional. So guess what they all did, Art? They either redrew their lines or they're currently redrawing their lines. And as a result of this, Art, since you're going to lose so many predominantly black voting districts in America, look what they did in Memphis. Memphis was the only predominantly black voting district in the state of Tennessee, Art. They just cut it up into 3 pieces. They just cut Memphis up like a pie into 3 pieces, and now they weakened black voting power, and now black people are going to be voting in districts that are overwhelmingly white, which means they can't choose the person they want, Art, and according to the U.S. Supreme Court, is perfectly legal. Now, let me go here, Art. I want to be very clear when I say this. I believe that the U.S. government and the American white power structure planned this 30 years ago, Art. 30 years ago. When Bill Clinton was president, they were working on this. And I'm going to tell you how I know this in a minute. I want black people to understand this was not just something that happened on April 29th, 2026. Art, they've been working on this for 30 years. Let's go to proof 1. George Bush loses the popular vote to Al Gore in election 2000. I'm sure you remember election 2000. George Bush loses the popular vote, Art, but guess what? The Electoral College robs him of the White House by giving him a majority in the Electoral College. So George Bush loses the popular vote to Al Gore, but he wins the Electoral College vote. Because as you know, in America, the people do not pick the president. Al Gore should have been in the White House. Instead, it was George Bush. And the reason they gave George Bush the White House, among other factors, Art, is there were 2 Supreme Court justice nomination spots that needed to be made during that election, during that presidential term. If Al Gore got in the White House, he was going to put 2 liberals in there. So the white power structure said, we're not going to do that. We're going to put George Bush in because we know he's going to give us 2 conservative Supreme Court justices that we're going to need, Art, 25 years later so they can gut Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Now, George Bush is president, 2000, 2008. Let's go forward. Barack Obama is next. We're going to come back to Obama in a minute. When Obama gets out, Hillary Clinton challenges George Bush for presidency of the United States. Hillary Clinton beats George Bush, Art. She wins the popular vote. But just like they did in 2000, they would do the same thing in 2016. They would rob Hillary Clinton of the White House and give Donald Trump a majority in the Electoral College. Are you following me? Now, Art, prior to Al Gore, George Bush, there had only been 3 presidential elections where the Electoral College did not give the people the president they elected. Only 3 times, Art. All 3 times was during slavery or Reconstruction. All 3 times. During slavery or Reconstruction. The last time it happened was during Reconstruction. Art, you're talking over 150 years of American history. And only 3 times did the Electoral College rob the people of the president they chose in the popular vote? And already, Art, twice in this century, twice, election 2000 and election 2016, the Electoral College robbed the American people and put a president in the White House that they did not choose, George W. Bush and Donald Trump. How many Supreme Court justices did Donald Trump elect his first term, or nominate his first term? 3. So George W. Bush gave you 2 Supreme Court justices. Donald Trump gave you 3 Supreme Court justices. That's a total, Art, of 5 Supreme Court justices nominated by 2 presidents the American people did not choose. Why am I bringing this up, Art? Because you got Democratic Party plantation slaves in the media telling black people the reason the Supreme Court gutted Section 2 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act is because you didn't vote for Kamala Harris. You didn't vote for Kamala Harris. And since you didn't come out and vote for Kamala Harris, the Supreme Court has thrown us back into Jim Crow. Art, that is an absolute lie. Whether you voted for Kamala Harris or not, and she got 83% of the black vote, whether you voted for Kamala Harris or not, Art, the Supreme Court would have still done this. Why? The Supreme Court is almost identical to the Supreme Court that the Supreme Court is almost identical to the Supreme Court that Joe Biden had when he was president of the United States. In other words, Art, Donald Trump has appointed no Supreme Court justices this term. The court is the same as it was when Joe Biden left office. Joe Biden left office. Donald Trump made history appointments, Art, in his first term. That's not black people's fault. Hillary Clinton was robbed of the White House. That's not black people's fault. Al Gore was robbed of the White House. That's not black people's fault. So, Art, of the 6 Supreme Court justices that overturned Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, 5 of them were appointed, nominated by presidents who the people did not choose. Why am I saying that, Art? Because this gutting of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, it's a coup d'etat. This was a coup d'etat against black voting power. It was a coup d'etat. It don't matter who you voted for, because these Supreme Court justices were appointed by George Bush and Donald Trump, who the people did not choose, black or white. They chose Hillary and Al Gore. Don't get me wrong. Hillary is a racist. Al Gore is a racist. I don't support them either. But I'm just drawing the point that people trying to shame blacks for the Supreme Court decision when black people had nothing to do with it, because the Supreme Court judges who ruled on this decision on April 29th, Art, were nominated by 2 presidents that people did not choose. The only judge, conservative judge, who ruled on this case, Louisiana versus Calais, who was nominated by a popular vote chosen by the people, was Uncle Tom, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Snow Bunny Thomas. Clarence Snow Bunny Thomas was nominated by George W. Bush, Daddy Bush. And he only got that job because Rodney King got his backside beat in by them police on March the 3rd, 1991. Thurgood Marshall, the first black Supreme Court justice, announces that he's going to be retiring, Art. And so George H.W. Bush, Daddy Bush, he says, I got to give black people something so they don't tear this country up, because I know next spring the court is going to find all those cops who beat up Rodney King not guilty, and I don't want Los Angeles to burn. Los Angeles burned anyway, Art. But George H.W. Bush tried to stop it by nominating Uncle Tom, Justice Clarence Snow Bunny Thomas. So he only got in the Supreme Court because of Rodney King and Thurgood Marshall's retirement. The other 5 was nominated by W. Bush and Trump who were not chosen by the people. Now, Art, I want black people to understand the Democratic Party also supports this. They're going to be mad when I say it, Art, but I got to say it. The Democratic Party supports this as much as the Republicans. Now, you're going to say, Art, why would you think the Democratic Party would want to disenfranchise black voters, Art? Let's go back to Joe Biden. What was Joe Biden doing his entire first term of office, Art? He announced it before he even got into office. What did Joe Biden say? He said, I want to fast track 2 million migrants to U.S. citizenship. Remember that? He said, I want to make 2 million undocumented migrants U.S. citizens. And what did him and Kamala Harris proceed to do, Art? They went to New York City. They went to Chicago. They went to other black communities, and they started flooding black communities with South American, anti-black Latino migrants. Why did they do that, Art? Why did they flood Chicago and New York, the two most powerful, most conscious, most numerous black voting districts in America? They did it to weaken the black vote. Why would Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, a Democratic president and vice president, want to weaken the black vote? You know why, Art? Democrats are tired of having to depend on black people to win the White House. They are tired of being viewed the party of black people. The Democratic Party is sick and tired of having to answer to black people who they have never done anything for. So, for black people and Democratic Party plantation slaves who say what the Supreme Court did was an injustice, and it was. But what the Republicans just did, Art, is for the same reason why Joe Biden was flooding the black community with migrants to do what? Break up black voting power. The Democrats wanted to break up predominantly black voting districts, Art, as much as the Republicans. You know why? Because neither one of them cares about black people, and neither the Democratic Party nor the Republican Party wants their elections determined by black people. And what brought about this change, Art? What brought about this change? Two things happened in the year 2000, Art. That same year that the Electoral College robbed Al Gore of the White House and gave it to George Bush. Two things happened, Art. Number one, in the U.S. Census, they included biracial for the first time. Biracial. Black people with a white parent or a white grandparent or a white great-grandparent who didn't want to be black, you can now say you was biracial. Why is this important, Art? Because it divided up the population of blacks. Now you got 10 to 15% of black people who are now saying, I'm not black. I'm biracial and multiracial. So you know what that does, Art? That reduces our numerical representation on paper because you got black people no longer identifying as black, thinking black, or voting black. Are you with me? So you get biracial. Guess what else happens in the year 2000, Art? Latinos surpass black people for the first time in American history, Art, as the largest minority group in America. From 1619 until 2000, that's almost 400 years, black people were the largest non-white group in America. In the year 2000, Latinos surpassed black people. Right now in America, Art, you have approximately 47 million blacks and 64 million Latinos. According to the census, that is 17 million more Latinos in America today than you have black people. Now, George Bush, although Al Gore won the popular vote, Art, George Bush received 44% of the Latino vote. Donald Trump got 42% of the Latino vote. He won 55% of the white vote, 55% of the male vote, and 55% of the Latino male vote. Let me say it again, Art. George Bush in election 2000 won 44% of the Latino vote. Donald Trump in election 24 got 42% of the Latino vote, 55% of Latino men, 55% of all men, and 55% of the white vote. Why is this relevant? It is relevant, Art, because Latinos outnumber blacks, and historically, Latinos have always leaned toward the Democrats in a majority fashion. However, in this century, Art, the Latino vote is split almost 50-50 between the Democrats and the Republicans. Dr. Umar, what is your point? My point is this, Art. The reason the Democrats and the Republicans colluded to rob black people of the voting rights. The Democrats and the Republicans did this together, Art. They colluded to rob black people of their voting rights because neither party wants to depend on the black voter anymore. That's why Joe Biden flooded the black community with migrants, and that's why the Republicans got the Supreme Court to gut Section 2. They don't care about black people. Election 2028, Art, is going to be all about the migrants, the immigrants, and the Latinos. This was a bipartisan coup d'etat. Now, let me bring in Barack Obama, Art. Let me bring in Barack Obama. Barack Obama was made president for several reasons. We discussed some of them before. But a big reason why he was made president, as far as elections go, is because white America needed to give black America the illusion of inclusion. White America needed to give black America the illusion of inclusion, Art. So they gave us a black president to distract us from the hell to come after he left office. So they said, let's give these politically uneducated, religious, and emotional Negroes a black president. And while they celebrate Barack Obama, who's going to do nothing for them, while they celebrate him for 8 years, we are going to engineer the greatest electoral takeover in American history, a coup d'etat of the black vote. And every black person, Art, who sat up there when Obama got elected in 2008, who celebrated Obama from 2009 to 16, every black person who told the world, Barack Obama doesn't have to do anything for me except be black. Barack Obama doesn't have to do anything for me except be black. Art, we need to round them Negroes up. They need to have their melanin snatched, and they need to get 5,000 lashes apiece. Why? Because if Barack Obama doesn't have to serve the interests of black people as a black president, if Barack Obama doesn't have to serve the interests of black people as a black president, I damn sure as Donald Trump don't have to serve black interests. I damn sure as Joe Biden don't have to serve black interests. And whoever becomes president from here on out, Art, they can ignore black people. Why? Because we set a precedent under Obama where we let him ignore us, do nothing at all, specifically and particularly for black people, and he got away with it. Art, we are as responsible as the Democratic Party and the Republican Party for what just happened. Now, when George Bush became president, and I'm going to end it here, Art. When George W. Bush became president in the year 2000, he initiated the gentrification movement. George Bush rode into office on what? The promise to take back America's cities. We're taking back New York. We're taking back Chicago. We're taking back Philly and DC. We're taking back Richmond. And guess what they did, Art? They took them back. Philly is gentrified. They gentrifying Durham, North Carolina. Baltimore is being gentrified as we speak. DC is barely chocolate city anymore. And when they took back the city, Art, it wasn't just about taking back the real estate and the land. It was about taking back the power of the inner city vote. If you look at what they did, Art, from election 2000 to election 2008 to election 2016, election 20, election 24, all of this was a slow pressure cooker to snatch voting power for Black people. So where does that leave us, Art? It means Black people have to build an all-Black political party, not to run our own candidates necessarily, not to run our own candidates. We can run our own candidates in predominantly Black areas, which you're no longer going to have by 2028, which you're no longer going to have by 2028, but we can run our own Black candidates in majority Black areas, but we really need an all-Black political party now, Art, so we can leverage our numbers numerically, because we won't be able to do it geographically anymore. The Supreme Court has made it legal for white people to break up all Black voting districts, but we can still tie our votes together, Art, numerically. It's the only chance for Black people. Forget the Democratic Party. They have done nothing for you. They have sold you out. Secretly, they are happy for this, Art. Yes, they will lose in the midterms. They're going to lose big in the midterms. In fact, the Congressional Black Caucus might lose nearly 20 Black congresspersons after these midterms on November the 3rd, Art. So the Democrats are going to lose the battle, but they might win the war because they no longer have to act like they care about Black people, because the Supreme Court has legalized the breaking up of majority Black voting districts. Art, we are not on our way back to Jim Crow. We are not almost back in Jim Crow. Art, we are in Jim Crow. The president don't give a damn about Black people. The Supreme Court don't give a damn about Black people. The U.S. Congress don't give a damn about Black people, brother. We are on our own. And I'm telling every Black freedman in this country, and for our Black African and Black Caribbean immigrants who want to stand with us, but you must pick a side. If you're not with us, just let us know that. No harm, no foul. But we need to know where all of our African immigrant brothers stand. We need to know where all Black people in America stand. And this is exactly why I don't support bunny hopping, because there's no way in hell, Art, I'm going to trust a Black man married to a white woman now that Black people are in war. Art, we at war. We are at war. They have declared political, economic, judicial warfare on Black America. Therefore, it is up to Black people to unite, as Marcus Garvey told us 100 years ago. Put the race first. If we don't learn how to overcome our petty differences, if we don't know how to overcome our religious differences, if we don't get out of this Democrat-Republican dichotomy that has nothing to do with us, Art, if we don't learn to stand together as brothers and sisters, we will perish as fools. Black power.
How you feel about this Kevin Hart roast? I know it's been getting a whole lot of backlash right now for some of the jokes that was told on there. You seen it?
Art, on Mother's Day, Netflix had a Netflix is a Joke festival, whatever that is. And part of that Netflix is a Joke festival, they had the roast of Kevin Hart. I didn't know what this was. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't intend to watch it. And then all of a sudden, the day after Mother's Day, my phone started blowing up. My Instagram inbox blowing up. My WhatsApp, my email, you name it, is blowing up. My Patreon is blowing up. I see a clip of a white comedian making a joke of George Floyd's death. It wasn't fun. It wasn't comedy. It was racist. But I thought that was the only joke of the Kevin Hart roast that people had a problem with. So I said, I'm going to need to address this, but I can wait. And then my phone continued to blow up. And I had brothers and sisters saying, Doc, this wasn't the only joke. It was dozens of disrespectful, insulting comedic material during that Kevin Hart roast. So I decided to watch it, Art. I spent 3 hours. It was about 2 hours and 45 minutes. I watched the whole thing from start to finish. I want to first read some of these jokes for your audience who did not see this. It starts off with Shane Gillis. He's the host. I never heard of the devil, but I know who he is now. He starts out by saying, I want to thank Netflix for choosing me to co-host this celebration of Black excellence. And when I heard that, I said, okay, that's an underhanded jab at Black excellence. He's basically trying to say, ain't nothing excellent about y'all. Y'all just a bunch of dumb niggas. That's what he was trying to say. But I said, okay, let me be patient. Because remember, Art, this is a 3-hour program. Then Usher comes out. Shout out to my brother Usher. He performed. He threw some jokes at Kev Hart. It was nice and clean. Shout out to Usher. I had no problem with my brother Usher. Then Tom Brady comes out because Kevin Hart, I believe, hosted Tom Brady's roast back in 2024. Tom Brady wasn't as bad as the others. He says things like, unlike your real dad, I actually showed up. He looks out at the crowd. Tom Brady says, who are all these people? I thought Spirit Airlines shut down. In other words, you're a bunch of broke black niggas. How did y'all afford to attend this show? Mind you, Art, is mostly white people out there. So this lynching took place in front of a predominantly white audience. I want to shout out my sister Regina King, Art. Regina Hall, not Regina King, Regina Hall, because I didn't see her laugh or barely laugh at any of the jokes. She was up there on the podium sitting down. She did not find it funny. Thank you to Sister Regina Hall for maintaining your integrity, as much of it as you could, during this public lynching of black people described as a comedy show. Shout out to Regina Hall. Art, they were cursing through the whole thing. Vulgarity, profanity. It was nothing but degeneracy. But let me continue. Shane Gillis makes this joke, Art. He says, Cheryl's husband unalived himself. Obviously, black does crack because he jumped off a effing roof. Did you hear what I just said? I'm going to say it again. Shane Gillis said, Cheryl's husband unalived himself. Obviously, black does crack if it's married to Cheryl and jumps off an effing roof. So I do my research, Art, and guess what I find out? Her husband took his own life by jumping to his death, bro. They made a joke about her husband's suicide, Art, and check this out. It wasn't one joke about her husband's suicide. They repeatedly, throughout the whole show, made jokes about Cheryl Underwood's husband's suicide to millions of people watching this Netflix special all over the world. Let's continue. They call Pete Davidson a wigger, W-I-G-G-E-R. You know what a wigger is? A white person who loves niggas. Then he said, the Golden State Warriors logo is a bridge. Don't show that to Cheryl's husband. You see that, Art? Her husband is deceased. He took his own life They repeatedly made jokes about this woman's deceased husband. Don't show her husband the Golden State Warriors logo on their jersey because he might want to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. Let's continue, Art. Then Shane says, racist devil, Shane Gillis, he says, I called Cheryl last night and asked her if it was okay to say some of these jokes. I want to say this to my sister, Cheryl Underwood, Art. I love her. I respect her. Great comedian. I love you, Sister Cheryl. But don't you ever again in your life give permission for white people to disrespect you, disrespect your deceased husband, or disrespect us. Because one thing we got to understand, Art, when they make these jokes about these comedians, they're not just attacking them. They're attacking all of us because they're digging up these old racialized jokes from the slave plantation and they're trying to make them popular again. I know exactly what this is, Art. Just like they trying to put us back in Jim Crow with the vote, they trying to put us back in Jim Crow with the comedy. They're trying to get our black comedians to give them a license to publicly insult, belittle, disparage, and disrespect black people. And I want Netflix to know we not having it. We not having this. We are not going to stand by and let white folks manipulate our comedians into making an ass out of themselves on TV for money so they can make it look like black people don't mind being treated like porch monkeys. Black people don't be in mind treated like animals. See, they shouldn't have the right to vote anyway. See, they should all be locked up anyway, because who would sit up there and laugh at themselves being humiliated by racist white people? Let me continue, Art. Another joke. Kevin, it must suck being at 5'1", but at least being that short allows them to tell you apart from all the other blacks. In other words, Art, we all look alike. Then Shane said, they told me to be racist. He said this. They told me to be racist. He said it on the mic. And listen to this joke from Shane Neanderthal Gillis. He said, Kevin's ancestors came to America on a slave ship and a bottle. Kevin's ancestors came to America in a slave ship and a bottle, Art. Obviously talking about him being small, but you making fun of our enslavement, the greatest crime in human history, even validated as such by the United Nations last month. Are you kidding? You're going to make fun about the enslavement of my ancestors and you're going to pass it off as comedy. Art, this was not comedy. This was a public execution of the honor, self-respect, and integrity of Black America, and we not going for it. Let me continue. Listen to this one, Art. Kevin's father was a California raisin, but he wasn't raising anybody. His dad was addicted to crack, and he abandoned him. But I guess that's better than being there for the filming of Jumanji 3. I'm telling you, Art, if I didn't see it myself, if I didn't see this myself, you couldn't have told me that these were the jokes that came out of white people's mouths on international television while we were sitting right in front of their face. Let's continue. Here's another one. Now, Shane Gillis didn't say all these jokes, Art. Some of the other white comedians said them too when they got up to the podium. But most of them came from Shane's Neanderthal Gillis. Listen to this one. Kevin did well in Saudi Arabia because they thought he was the monkey from Aladdin.
How is that funny?
It ain't funny, Art. It ain't funny. This was not comedy, bro. This was a get back for Druski portraying Erica Kirk. But I don't have a problem with what Druski did, Art, because he wasn't vulgar. He didn't call that woman a bitch. He didn't mention Charlie Kirk's name. All he did was imitate her behaviors, Art, for 3 minutes. That's all Druski did. But white people are so narcissistic, so paranoid, so psychologically entitled that they don't even think a black comedian has a right to do a skit of a black woman, of a white woman in whiteface when this white woman clearly supports the anti-black agenda of this government. You damn right Druski had a right to do what he did. I'm glad Druski did what he did. But guess what, Art? These jokes that they did at this Kevin Hart roast, it makes Druski's Erica Kurt skit look like a picnic, Art. You cannot compare that Druski skit of Erica Kurt to what they did to Cheryl Underwood. In fact, Art, this should not have been called a roast of Kevin Hart. You know what they should have called it? The roast of Cheryl Underwood. This was the roast of Cheryl Underwood. They lured our sister there. They sat her up front, Art. They racially targeted her, and they unloaded on that beautiful, dark-skinned black woman all night long. This was a get back for Erica Kurt. Let me continue, Art. Kevin did so well in Saudi Arabia because they thought he was the monkey from Aladdin. Here's another one. Listen to this one, Art. Kevin is so short, they will have to lynch him from a bonsai tree. Kevin is so short, they will have to lynch him from a bonsai tree. I got something I want to say. Somebody said that Pastor Jamal Bryant came out, as he should, shout out to Pastor Jamal Bryant, and he rebuked Netflix for this comedy special. Several black people did, but I want Pastor Jamal Bryant to go one step further. Pastor Bryant, you know what you're going to do, sir? You're going to get with other black ministers around the country, and you guys are going to draft a letter. All of you are going to sign it. That letter is going to go to Netflix, and you're going to tell Netflix, if anything like this ever happens again, there will be a national black boycott of Netflix. And not only are we going to boycott Netflix in America, we're going to ask our continental African brothers and sisters, our Australian African brothers and sisters, our Canadian African brothers and sisters, our European African brothers and sisters, our Caribbean African brothers and sisters, our Central and South American African brothers and sisters to boycott Netflix. If Netflix ever disrespects black people like this again, you will pay with your pocketbook. I need the black pastors to send Netflix a letter, Art. I need the Congressional Black Caucus to send Netflix a letter. I need the Divine Nine, black fraternities and sororities to send Netflix a letter. I need the Urban League, the NAACP, and every grassroots black organization, the Black Masons included. Send Netflix a letter and tell them, if this ever happens again, Netflix will be canceled by the black African race. You are not going to play in our face as you benefit from our pain. You are not going to play in black people's face as you benefit from our pain. And then Jeff Ross got up there. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeff Ross, bald head white dude. I believe he's a cancer survivor. And they made jokes about him, about his cancer. But if white people want to make jokes with white people, that's their business. I ain't got nothing to do with that. All right? Now, he gets up there and guess what he says? He says, hello, Cheryl Underwood. You look like the donkey from Shrek.
Disrespectful, man.
Art, when I tell you, brother, they terrorized our sister all night long. They humiliated and shamed our sister all night long, and not a single black man in there stood up and said anything about it. Let me say this to my brother Draymond Green from Black Michigan. Draymond, I'm a Draymond Green fan. Draymond Green is an alpha male. He's a stand-up black man. And let me say this to you, brother Draymond Green, from me to you, because I know you a stand-up black man. Draymond, don't ever sit there again, my brother. Draymond Green, don't you ever sit there again, my brother, and let a bunch of white men disrespect our black women and do nothing about it. What I would have liked to see Draymond do, Art, but I know it caught him off guard. I know it caught him off guard. So this is constructive criticism. I'm not throwing my brother under the bus. I would have wished Draymond would have got on that microphone and said, listen, I am a black man. I'm here to support my brother, Kevin Hart. I do not like the quality of jokes that are being made about black women at this show. This needs to change right now. Or me, Lizzo, Cheryl Underwood, Regina Hall. What's the other comedian, Art, that be with Kevin Hart a lot? What's her name? She played in the Girls Trip movie with Jada Pinkett.
Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish was there. But she didn't speak, though. She was on the podium, but she never spoke, not that I can remember, and they never made any jokes about her. I don't know why she got a pass. I'm glad she got a pass. But Draymond Green should have said, if this don't stop, Tiffany Haddish, Regina Hall, Cheryl Underwood, Lizzo, and myself, we leaving right now. Or Draymond should have just said, Regina, Lizzo, Tiffany, Cheryl, we out. I'm not going to sit here as no black man and let these white, pale-faced devils disrespect y'all in front of my face. I'm not going to have it. So Draymond, next time, bruh, because I know you are alpha male. Next time, you got to stand up for the race, bruh. Celebrity or not. Because what they trying to do, Art, they trying to get us. They trying to get us to validate their disrespect of our race. They literally playing in our face, Art. They are literally playing in our face. Don't you know Shane Gillis called Lizzo a fat black bitch, Art, on the mic? Yes. What did he say? Something about her flute. He said, I see you with that flute, you fat. He didn't say black. He said, I see you with that flute, you fat bitch. Guess who else he called a bitch? Tiana Taylor. Tiana Taylor came out. She read her little jokes and things with Kev Hart, right? As she turned to exit, because she didn't sit up there. I didn't see her up there. As she turned to exit, because the exit was right behind the stage, Shane Gillis got up there again after calling Lizzo a fat bitch. Guess what he says about Tiana Taylor? At least she's good looking, because that bitch is not funny. Did you hear what I just said, Art? At least she's good looking, because that bitch is, he called two black women a bitch and didn't get knocked on his ass. How does a white man call a black woman a bitch? Two different women on international television, Netflix, and don't get knocked on his ass. Let's continue, Art. Kevin is so short, they will have to lynch him from a bonsai tree. He did well in Saudi Arabia because they thought he was the monkey from Aladdin. His ancestors came to America on a slave ship in a bottle. I'm about to blow your mind now, Art. Listen to this. Guess who wrote these jokes?
Who wrote them?
A group of 17 white men. Art, a group of 17 white men were hired by Netflix to make a night's worth of racially derogatory, insulting, and humiliating jokes about black people. White men wrote these, Art. Let's continue. Jeff Moss calls Cheryl Underwood the donkey from Shrek, and then he says Cheryl's pronouns are he-haw, not her, with the her and she are, but he-haw, like a donkey. Cheryl's pronouns are he-haw. Let's continue. Kevin, then he says, Kevin, I know your dad walked out on you, and then I went to one of your movies and I walked out on you. Here we go. Listen to this joke. Lamar Odom, back-to-back NBA champions with Kobe Bryant, Los Angeles Lakers. We know Lamar Odom had an addictions problem that he kicked, right? Now he doing good for himself. Shout out to Lamar Odom. Listen to this joke, Art. He's not even a part of the program. He's in the audience. And I think it was Jeff Moss. Listen to what he says, Art. I don't want no smoke with The Rock, because that's what almost killed Lamar Odom. I don't want no smoke with The Rock, because that's what almost killed Lamar Odom. I wish Lamar Odom would have walked up there and smacked the SHIT out of Jeff Ross. Let's continue, Art. Let me make an observation. When they were making jokes about Chelsea Handler caught it too, Art, but not as bad as Lizzo. They kept calling her a whore all night long, talking about how she slept with 50 Cent, even though that's a white woman, Art. Even though that is a white woman, I did not appreciate it for her. I don't date out my race, but guess what? I don't want to see no woman humiliated like that. They humiliated Chelsea Handler, called her a whore all night long, talking about how she be sucking piss, all kind of stuff, Art. But you know why they made her the mule? Why was Chelsea Handler made the mule, Art? Because they had to justify what they were doing to Cheryl Underwood. So Chelsea, you see that, Art? She became the crash dummy, the white crash dummy, to justify their lynching of Cheryl Underwood. But not even Chelsea Handler caught it as bad as Cheryl Underwood. Let's continue, Art. Somebody called her one of the kings of comedy. Cheryl Underwood was called a man, Art, one of the kings of comedy. Listen to this. Then they said she could play Kevin Hart's dad in a biopic. Cheryl Underwood can play Kevin Hart's dad in a biopic. Regina Hall didn't. I love Regina Hall. Not only is she fine, she wasn't laughing. Shout out to Regina Hall. Let's continue, Art. I'm almost done. Lizzo got up there and played. Lizzo looked nice. Shout out to Lizzo, too. Lizzo is a beautiful queen. She looked nice. I thought the sex jokes was excessive. She did tell Pete Davidson she would F him. I didn't appreciate that. Lizzo, don't be playing to no racial stereotypes. They already think black women are Jezebels. Don't be running around telling these white men you will F them. I need you to represent for black women. And this is when Shane did it. Art, he said, "Nice flute, you fat effing bitch." His exact words are, quote, "Nice flute, you fat effing bitch." Then Pete Davidson called Cheryl Underwood Babadook. Did you see the Babadook movie, Art? The little all-black little creature? He called Cheryl Underwood the Babadook, and he said the reason she has a Daytime Emmy Award, Art, is because nobody can see her at night. The reason Cheryl Underwood has a Daytime Emmy Award is because no one can see her at night. Listen to this one, Art. Cheryl is as black as the road is black. She looks like somebody made a wish for a puddle of mud to come to life. All night long, Art, this was the roast of Cheryl Underwood, a revenge for Erica Kirk. That's what it should have been called. The racist roast of Cheryl Underwood, revenge for Erica Kirk. She's as black as the road, and she looks like somebody made a wish for a puddle of mud to come to life. Listen to this one, Art. Cheryl is so black, we had to bring Draymond Green to color balance our cameras. Here's another one. Here's a real bad one, Art. Cheryl, you look like a grape Laffy Taffy that went through the dryer. Listen to this, Art. Your hair, that purple outfit you're wearing, looks just like your Pussy. You didn't hear what I just said, Art. I know they didn't say this. Art, I'm quoting, bro. I'm quoting. Let me say that one more time. Cheryl, you look like a great Laffy Taffy that went through the dryer. Your hair, that purple outfit, you look just like your own Pussy. Art, that's not a joke. That's not a joke. That is racial humiliation. That's not a joke. Let's continue. I'm almost done. Here's another joke. Who they talking about again? Cheryl Underwood, Art. This was not about Kevin Hart. This was an Erica Kirk get back. Listen to this. Her husband committed suicide after 3 years of marriage. I've only been sitting next to her for 2 hours, and I want to ask him, how did he last so long? Her husband committed suicide after 3 years. I've been sitting next to her for 2 hours. I want to ask him, how did he last so long? Art, somebody better tell Netflix. Somebody better tell Netflix that if you ever disrespect our women like this again, we are boycotting Netflix. It won't be no more Netflix. It won't be no more Netflix. In fact, Tyler Perry, start your black flicks. Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, somebody needs to start black flicks. We need to get away from Netflix anyway. And you know what's funny? I just renewed my subscription to watch this. Let's continue, Art. Almost done. Here we go. George Floyd is looking up at us and laughing so hard that he can't breathe. You making jokes about black people who were murdered by police? That's funny? That's comedy? And let me say this to all the coons, Art, because guess what the coons was saying on my Instagram yesterday? You don't understand risque comedy. Nah, house nigga. I understand risque comedy, but what I'm telling you, I don't care what kind of comedy it is. You're not going to disrespect black people because Art, what they're trying to do is bring back the minstrel show. What was the minstrel show, Art? Back from 1830 to 1930. From the Nat Turner War until the heyday of the Marcus Garvey movement, our greatest black movement of modern history, white people would dress up in blackface, Art, and they would play ridiculous, stereotypical black characters. Zip Coon, the Pickaninny, the Mammy, Uncle Tom, the Laughing Sambo, and they made us look like complete animals and morons. And why did they do it, Art? The minstrel shows, which was the most popular form of entertainment in America at that time, were done to do what? Justify the mistreatment of blacks, justify the lynching of blacks, justify the slavery of blacks. And guess what, Art? They're trying to do it again. They're trying to bring back the minstrel show, with the only difference being now, Art, instead of painting their white faces black, they just gonna laugh in our black faces. Instead of painting their white faces black, they just gonna laugh in our black faces. Listen to this, Art. Cheryl was in the Air Force, but she couldn't fly. And neither could her husband, who jumped to his death. Is that a joke, Art? Cheryl was in the Air Force, but she couldn't fly. And neither could her husband because he jumped to his death. Listen to this. Cheryl gets up there, Art. She gets up there and she tries to defend herself. And she did a good job, but you can't undo this. And what she said, Art, was, I'm glad all you white comics came up here and used all the words that black comics get canceled for saying. She said that. Because, Art, if we would have unloaded on white people like this, you lose your career. Could you imagine if we talked about Jews the way they talked about us that night? They wanted to cancel Dave Chappelle over some transgender jokes. They wanted to cancel Dave Chappelle over some transgender jokes. How is it you want to cancel Dave Chappelle, Art, over some transgender jokes, and you flat out humiliate our black women, our black men, and my whole race in this Netflix roast? It should have been called the Roast of Black America. It should have been called the Netflix Racist Roast of Black America featuring Cheryl Underwood. Listen to this, Art. Kevin Hart gets up there. He's the last half hour, Art. So this is about almost 3 hours. He's the last half hour right before he bring out Meek Mill to do his closeout rap. Shout out to Meek. Kevin Hart says, y'all told me y'all want to see a real nigga tonight, so I'm going to be a real nigga. Kevin Hart, I love you, bro, but don't you dare Don't you dare use the N-word around these Caucasians. And don't you dare make them think it's okay to use the N-word. We don't do that, bro. We don't do that. And then he says, Shane was one Bud Light away from calling me a nigga. And then Kevin did something I didn't like, Art, and this is my last piece, and I'm just going to close with my assessment of this. Kevin Hart said, I'm not going to let y'all stand up here and disrespect my black queens, my black sisters, or something to that effect, right, Art? So I'm thinking he about to clap back. I'm thinking Kevin Hart about to be an alpha male and say, I didn't appreciate them jokes you made about black women tonight. You went too far, right? Instead, you know what he says? He thanks them for coming out. Regina Hall, Lizzo, Tiffany Haddish, Cheryl Underwood. And guess what he says? None of these women have a man. They a bunch of lonely bitchs. Art, they just sat through a whole night of humiliation from white comics. And here's Kevin Hart, my North Philly brother who I love and respect. He gonna turn around and right when you think he about to defend the honor of black women, Art, he throws them under the bus too. And say, ain't none of them got no man. They a bunch of lonely bitchs. Art, what are we doing? They interviewed Cheryl Underwood afterwards. Art, this is what she said. Cheryl Underwood said, a lot of people feel bad for me because they were talking about my husband who committed suicide. But those jokes were written well and they made me laugh. Art, they didn't make her laugh, bro. Cheryl Underwood is a beautiful chocolate sister who better be proud of all that melanin she got. And she's trying to survive as a dark-skinned, beautiful black woman in a racist comedy industry, Art. So she had to say that because they would take her career from her. You feel me, Art? If she would have clapped back, she'll never get another comedy show, and Netflix is supposed to give her a comedy show. But what I want to say to Cheryl Underwood, Art, don't you exchange your dignity, your pride, your honor, your integrity, and your self-respect for no Netflix show. Cheryl, you bigger than that. And this is why, Art, we got to come together and pull our money together so black women don't have to go around here accepting humiliation like Cheryl Underwood had to do on Mother's Day, Art. They did this to her on Mother's Day. On Mother's Day. Art, I'm going to say this. Draymond Green, Lamar Odom, Regina Hall, Tiffany Haddish, Lizzo, Cheryl Underwood, and every other black person. As a spokesman for the black freedmen of this country, as a spokesman for the black African race, I'm the most popular grassroots spokesman in the world for my people. Y'all get a pass on Mother's Day. I'm giving them a pass, Art, one pass. But I want Kevin Hart to know, and I don't care who in Philadelphia don't like it, I don't care. I'm letting Lizzo know. I'm letting Cheryl Underwood know. I'm letting Draymond Green know. Tiffany Haddish, Regina Hall, although Regina Hall stood her ground. If y'all ever let white people do this to us again, if y'all ever sit at a comedy show and let white people insult and castrate, verbally castrate, and humiliate and shame the black race like y'all did on Mother's Day, we will cancel y'all too. And I'm not playing. Y'all black entertainers better stop playing with the self-respect of black people. You black football players, you black basketball players, you rappers, you goofy-ass rappers, you singers, you actors, you dancers, you comedians. I'm telling you now, white folk are going to try to use them, Art. They're going to try to use them to bring back the modern day minstrel show by humiliating us in their faces. And I'm letting the whole black entertainment world know right now, we will march on your ass. We will march on your house. We will boycott your movies. Don't play with me. I'm telling y'all now, I'm talking to every black entertainer in this country. Don't play with me. If you think we're going to sit by and allow you to let white people make a mockery of black people so you can get paid, you got another thing coming. Like I said, Kevin Hart, we all human, bruh. I don't know how you sat through that, but you get a pass. Draymond, I know you a stand-up black man. I don't know how you sat through it, but you get a pass. Lizzo, Tiffany Haddish, Cheryl, Regina, all the other black people who were there that I didn't see, you get a pass. Cat Williams spoke, but he also left. Tiana Teller spoke, but she also left. I don't know if they was in there for the whole thing or not. But if you allow this to happen again, I'm sorry. I love all y'all. We will cancel your asses. Black power.
You already know I gotta ask you, man. You being a big Michael Jackson fan, you seen the Michael movie?
I've seen the new Michael Jackson movie starring his nephew, Jafar. First of all, I want to say Jafar Jackson did a supreme job. Superb art. That young man should get Oscar for Best Actor. I doubt that happens because they already gave it to our brother Michael B. Jordan. And as you know, we only get it every 10 to 15 years. But Jafar Jackson deserves Best Actor. Absolutely. He channeled his uncle as only a nephew can do. I'm a Michael Jackson fan. I wanted to be Michael Jackson. I had the jackets, the gloves. I did the dance. My mother named me after his older brother, Jermaine. I was born Jermaine, not Umar. My father changed my name when I was approximately 7 years of age. Let's get into this. Michael Jackson. First of all, I can't believe that you got Caucasian Nation out here, white America, running around complaining, Art, that the movie did not cover the child sex abuse allegations. How dare Caucasian Nation get upset because the movie didn't cover the child sex allegations? Art, the movie doesn't need to cover the child sex allegations. Not part one, not part two. And why not, Art? Because Michael Jackson was never convicted of any child sex allegations. Had he been convicted, I could possibly understand. But just like white people do with their heroes, they don't talk about the negative stuff in their life. They talk about the positive stuff in their life. They just had a movie come out about Elvis Presley. Priscilla was sleeping in that man's house since she was 14 years old, and white people still celebrate Elvis. Thomas Jefferson was molesting a little black girl by the name of Sally Hemings since she was 11 or 12 years old. White people still about to celebrate Thomas Jefferson on July 4th, 2026, America's 250th birthday. So how dare you celebrate known pedophiles, Art? They're celebrating known pedophiles. But you want black people to publicly lynch Michael Jackson, who was acquitted of all charges of his 2005 trial, Art. Acquitted of all charges. And I saw an interview where my Philadelphia brother Coleman Domingo and my beautiful sister Nia Long, they were promoting the Michael movie, and it was on one of those Neanderthal talk shows, and somebody asked them about the fact that the child sex allegations were not covered. And they said, well, this movie was about the first half of his life. Well, that might be true, Art, but part two is coming out. And part two better not slander Michael. So Antoine Fuqua, the director, brother, if they want you to slander Michael Jackson's image in part two, don't do it. And I do have concerns about that, Art. I do have concerns that they might want to slander Michael Jackson in part two. Why? Because the movie is produced by 3 white men. To my knowledge, the movie is being produced by 3 white men. So who knows? what their agenda is going to be. But I hope Antoine Fuqua don't go for that nonsense. Now, let's get back to the timeline, Art. Let's get back to the timeline. First of all, let me say this about the movie. I loved it. I loved it. It was great. Everybody needs to see it. However, as a Michael Jackson enthusiast, I did expect to learn something that I did not already know. I think the movie was perfect for millennials, Art. But if you were a Generation Xer, you already knew everything in that movie. I would have appreciated a little bit more insight into the family dynamic. In other words, how was his relationship with each of his siblings? And how was their relationship with Michael's success? And how did their parents relate to them in the context of Michael's success? Did they feel left out? Did they feel overlooked? Did they feel pushed to the side? Because his brothers had no voice in the movie, Art. The Jackson 5 had no voice. The sisters really didn't have no voice. Where was Rebe? She wasn't represented. Janet wasn't represented. I really felt the movie focused a little too much on his relationship with his father. They basically threw Joe Jackson under the bus. And don't get me wrong, I do believe Joe Jackson was a narcissist, rest in peace. I do believe he was living his own dream through his sons. But with that being said, Art, Michael Jackson doesn't become Michael Jackson without Joe Jackson. In other words, Michael Jackson, Art, was a chosen one. Mike was chosen. Anybody who looks at that man with the talent and the gifts that he had, he was born to inspire through his music. His record, Thriller album, 135 times platinum, I think it is now, that'll never be broken. He came to this world to inspire through his music. And just like Christ, he was unalived because of his mission. Now let's run through the timeline, Mike. Let's run through the timeline, Art. Thriller, Michael Jackson's 6th album. Most people don't know Michael Jackson had 5 albums before Thriller, Art. 5 of them. One of them was produced right here in Philadelphia. Kenny Gamble, Gamble and Huff. Michael lived in Philly for a minute while he was working on the one album with Gamble and Huff. So anyway, he had 5 studio albums. Thriller was the 6th. He left Motown, got with Quincy Jones. They do Thriller. Thriller is released November the 29th of 1982, Art. November 29th, 1982. By 1984, it is put in the Guinness Book of World Records as the #1 selling album of all time. Guess what Michael Jackson decides he wants to do, Art? Hold on, we ain't there yet. I'm going to get there. So, Thriller in 1982, Guinness Book of World Records in 1984. In August of 1985, Art, 1985, guess what Michael Jackson decides he wants to do? He decides to make the biggest single publishing rights purchase in music history. Michael Jackson pays $47.5 million for the ATV music catalog. 4,000 songs, Art. This is August the 10th of 1985. Thriller came out November 29th, 1982. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records, 1984. So he's still riding Thriller, Art. He's still riding the wave. But Mike doesn't settle. Most entertainers would have done what? Chilled with their money. Mike said, nah, I don't just want to be a musician. I want to own the game. I don't just want to be a musician. I want to own the game. So guess what he does? He buys ATV music catalog, Art, 4,000 songs, $125 Beatles classics. 125 Beatles classics. Elvis Presley's music, a sizable collection of Elvis music. Guess who else, Art? Little Richard, Bruce Springsteen, Cher, and a whole host of other artists. Art, he owns their publishing. Michael Jackson does this. It's the largest music publishing acquisition by a single artist in history. That is 1985. So he's on top of the world, Art, on top of the world. And then guess what he does? A decision that he will regret. In 1991, he signs a 15-year, 6-album deal with Sony Records. A 15-year, 6-album deal with Sony Records. This deal, Art, will bring Michael Jackson $1 billion plus over the course of the 15-year contract. He owes him 6 albums. He gets 25% of the revenue share, and he gets to start his own label, right? Everything going fine. Then he makes another decision that I think he regrets, Art. So the 1991 contract, that's only for his own personal catalog. You with me? The 6 albums that include Thriller. That's the 15-year, 6 albums with Sony, 91. But guess what Mike does in 1995, Art? He allows Sony Records to buy a 50% share of the ATV catalog. Elvis, Beatles, Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, Cher, Little Richard. Sony Records pays Michael Jackson $95 million for a 50% stake in the ATV music catalog. This makes Michael Jackson basically a 50% owner with Sony Records, right? My third rule of racism is what? White people don't share power with black people. White people do not share power with black people. Sony Records did not sign Michael to those 2 contracts. Sony Records, Art, did not sign Michael Jackson to those 2 contracts just for him to be with them for 15 years. They brought him to the table so they could take over his music completely. And I believe, allegedly, let me say allegedly, I believe this same company was the cause of Michael Jackson's death. Allegedly, I believe that. Now, stay with me. As soon as Michael signs the contract in 95, Art, for the catalogs, he automatically starts falling out with Tommy Mottola. He's not getting his revenue share. They're not letting him make the decisions that he want to make, Art. Mike ain't feeling this at all. Okay? Now, Tommy Mottola, between 95 and 97, Art, Tommy Mottola says, because of these child sex abuse allegations, Art, we don't know if we can support you the way we would want to. Michael Jackson says, wait a minute. I got a 15-year, 6-album contract. I'm the #1 musician in the world, the #1 entertainer in the world, the highest selling album of all time. I'm the king of music, not just the king of pop. I'm the king of music. And we got a 50% stake in my catalog, and you don't know if you can support me. Guess what Michael says, Art? Mike says, no problem. Let me out the contract. I should have never signed with y'all anyway. Michael Jackson tells Tommy Mottola and Sony Records, let me out the contract. They said, we not doing that. October 30th of 2001, Art, Michael Jackson's last album, Invincible, comes out, right? Sony Records wants Michael Jackson to sign a contract extension. Michael Jackson tells Sony Records, I'm not signing no contract extension. I don't want to be a part of y'all no more. Y'all done already pissed me off. I want my catalog back. I want my personal catalog back. I want my ATV catalog back. And I'm done with you racist Neanderthals. Guess what Sony does? They extend their copyright. Something that the contract allowed them to do that Michael Jackson didn't know that they could do, Art. And I want to say this, Art, right here, right now. Michael Jackson's attorneys were secretly working for Sony Records, I believe. Let me say allegedly. I believe Michael Jackson's attorneys were working for Sony Records. I'm going to tell you why, Art. Michael Jackson, when he signed the contract in 1991 for his personal catalog, he was under the assumption or the understanding, based on what his lawyers told him, that he would get his masters back in 1999. Michael Jackson thought he was going to get his masters back in 1999. He finds out around 1999, Art, that he not getting his masters back until 2009, the year he died. Are you following me on this, Art? Let me say that one more time. Let me say this one more time. Michael Jackson thought he was going to get his masters back in 1999. His lawyers played him. He finds out in 1999 he's not getting his master recordings back until 2009, the year he died. I think you know where I'm going with this. So now, Art, Tommy Mottola tells Michael Jackson, if you don't extend your contract, we're not going to finance Invincible. Michael Jackson said, I'm not signing no contract extension with you devils. I want out. So they sabotage Invincible, Art, to put him in debt. Why did they want Michael Jackson in debt? To try to force him to sell his personal catalog and the joint ATV catalog, Art. Sony Records was bankrupting Michael Jackson to try to force him to turn over all of his music. They signed with him to destroy him and take his music. Same thing Warner Brothers did with Prince, allegedly, that led to his premature execution. Stay with me, Art. So 2001, Invincible comes out. It goes several times platinum, but that's a flop for Michael Jackson, right? So the next year, Michael Jackson has a protest in New York City with Al Sharpton, and he calls Tommy Mottola, the head of Sony Records, a devil and a racist. You remember that, don't you? He called him a devil and a racist, and he said that he called Irv Gotti, rest in peace to Irv, Murder Inc. He said he called Irv Gotti a fat ninja. Now, Art, the year after Michael Jackson has that protest against Sony Records in New York where he calls Tommy Mottola a racist and a devil. That was 2002, July. Guess what, Art? The next year, he's arrested for child sex molestation. You're not going to tell me that's a coincidence. Right after the protests, the next year, he's arrested for child molestation. Right after Diddy settles with Diageo Liquor, Diddy is arrested on federal. You see how this works? Same thing they did to Michael Jackson, they did it to Diddy. Stay with me, Art. So Michael Jackson is arrested in 2003. In 2004, Eminem, the white Jesus of hip hop, Eminem attacks Michael Jackson. He comes out with a song called Just Lose It, 2004. He's mocking Michael Jackson's surgery. He's mocking Michael Jackson's child sex abuse charges. And he's even mocking Michael Jackson's hair being burned during that Pepsi commercial. I'm sure you remember that. Now, in 2007, Art, I don't know if this was in retaliation for what Eminem did to him or not, but in 2007, Sony ATV, which is Sony and Michael Jackson, they purchase Art. The Famous Music LLC catalog. Guess what this gives them, Art? 125,000 songs. 125,000 songs, including who? Eminem's entire back catalog, all the way up until his 2004 Encore album. Michael Jackson and Sony owns the publishing of all of Eminem's records up until that time. Basically, you make a mockery of me, I'll buy out your catalog. That's how Michael Jackson paid back Eminem. Now, let me back up, Art. Let me back up. And then I'm going to come back to the last years of Michael Jackson's life. Better yet, let me stay there for a minute. Let me stay there. So 2003, he gets arrested. 2004, he's attacked by Eminem. 2005, the trial begins, Art. February 2005, Black History Month. I'm getting ready to go to Africa for the first time as Minister of Education for the Marcus Garvey movement. I'll never forget it. Michael Jackson is acquitted of all 10 counts on June 13th, 2005, Art. He's acquitted of all counts. Within months of being acquitted, guess what? The little boy's mother is charged with fraud and perjury for lying on Michael Jackson during the trial. She settles with a plea deal. 2006, the Guinness Book of Real Records, Art, they put Michael Jackson in the Guinness Book again for the greatest entertainer of all time. 2007, he buys Eminem's music as part of a 125,000 song Famous Music LLC catalog. 2008, Art, 25th anniversary of the Thriller album. When Thriller comes out for the 25th anniversary in 2008, Art, it goes number 1 in 8 countries and it's number 2 in the United States. So Michael Jackson realizes he's still the biggest musician in the world. Remember, Art, he's trying to get out of his contract with Sony. He will not extend the rights with Sony. After he gets acquitted from the charges, Art, he moves to the Middle East, Bahrain, whatever they call it. At the invitation of a king over there, Michael goes to the Middle East with his children. He visits his brother Jermaine Jackson, who's living in Dubai at the time. Michael Jackson, realizing with the 25th anniversary Thriller album, Art, he can make enough money to pay off his debts with Sony, get his catalog, start his own music company, take over the world. He initially agrees to 10 concerts, or 10 of them. But because of the demand, the concert promoters asked Mike to do a 50-city tour. Michael Jackson says, I'm going to do it. This is going to be my last tour, and I'm going to call it This Is It. He moves to Las Vegas. He's living in Las Vegas, 2007, 2008, Art. He's living in Las Vegas. He start preparing for the tour. Because in his mind, Art, I get my masters back when, Art? The end of 2009. Sony Records has to give me my master recordings back. 2009, my Thriller album is out. I'm back on top of the world. I'm going to do these 50 stops on this tour, make all this money, pay off my debt, get out of Sony, and start a whole company under my own name. You with me, Art? He makes a mistake, Art. He decides to move back to LA so he can practice at the Staples Center. The reason he wants to practice at the Staples Center, Art, is the Staples Center has all of the technical amenities that Michael Jackson needs in order to fully practice his tour. Because as you know, he's very elaborate with the special effects, the stunts, the dress rehearsals, and he's a Virgo. He's a Black August baby. August 29th, Mike is a perfectionist. So he says, we got to do the Staples Center because I can do it right at the Staples Center. Now check this out, Art. The tour was supposed to begin March of 09. Michael Jackson pushes the tour back. This was fatal, Art. This was fatal. Michael Jackson pushes the tour back from March of 2009 to July 13th of 2009. See that? So he's going to hang around in Los Angeles a few months too long. Art, if he gets on that tour, they can't get to him. If he gets on that tour, Art, in March, they can't get to him. But when he decided to push the tour back so he could practice and perfect the stage performances, that gave a certain music company enough time to plan Michael Jackson's demise. And on June the 25th, 2009, Art, exactly 2 weeks and 4 days before the first concert, 2 weeks and 4 days before the first concert, a black doctor helped him overdose on Provolol, I believe it is, and Michael Jackson was unalive. Art, are you going to tell me it's a coincidence that Michael Jackson dies 2 weeks before the first concert? He dies a few months before Sony was due to return his masters. Look how convenient this is, Art. Look how convenient. You die right before you're supposed to get your master recordings back for the #1 selling album in world history. Now, let me go back for a minute, Art. Let me go back to 1993. When did Mike, he bought the ATV music catalog, the Beatles and the Elvis, Bruce Springsteen, Rolling Stones, Little Richard. He bought that 4,000 song ATV catalog in 1985. He signs his 15-year deal with Sony in 1991, right? He puts in a bid for Marvel Comics in 1993, Art. When does Michael Jackson get his first child abuse accusation? 1993, right after he puts in a bid to own Marvel Comics, Art. Look at this. Michael Jackson was playing to be the king, bro. Michael Jackson, as much as he loved white people and kids, and I'll never understand that because they all turned on him, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But as much as Michael Jackson loved white people and white kids, Art, he was the Malcolm X of the music business. Michael Joseph Jackson was the Malcolm X of the music. Look at this, Art. I got the #1 album. I'm going to buy a 4,000 song catalog that gives me the publishing rights to the Beatles, Elvis, Rolling Stones, and Bruce Springsteen. Look at this, Art. And then I'm going to turn around, sign a contract with Sony that's going to turn me into a billionaire, and then I'm going to buy Marvel Comics. Art, when he bought that 4,000 song catalog in 85, and when he put the bid in for Marvel Comics in 93, that's when the white power structure said, I think they might have decided right then, Art, if we can't control him, we're going to unalive him. If we can't control him, they never had a black artist, Art. Sam Cooke owned his own music. Sam Cooke had his own record label. But Sam Cooke didn't have the #1 selling album in human history. Sam Cooke didn't buy a 4,000 album catalog. Michael Joseph Jackson was moving like the Malcolm X of the music industry, Art. So he gets accused of child sex abuse in 93, 13-year-old boy. He settles out of court for $22 million. He gets accused again in 1996, Art, while he's still trying to get Marvel Comics. And then, Art, the 2003 accusation comes right after he criticizes Sony Records. I believe, Art, Allegedly, this is all alleged. I believe Sony Records paid those people to accuse Michael Jackson of those crimes, Art, so he could go to jail, so they could bankrupt him through prison fees and bankrupt him through debt, like they did Bill Cosby, Art, like they trying to do Sean Combs. We're going to bankrupt Michael Jackson and make him sell us the catalog. And you know what's so sad about this whole thing, Art? Guess who bought out the catalog from the Jackson estate after they allegedly unalived Michael Jackson? Guess who owns the music now?
Who's that?
Sony Records. What did his mother say, Art? Queen Mother Catherine Jackson. She did an interview with Dateline in 2010, Art. And Catherine Jackson said that Michael Jackson used to call her and say, "Mom, they want to take my life." She said he kept telling me over and over that they want to take my life for what I know. And I think, Art, he's talking about his knowledge and mastery of the music business. And Catherine Jackson said that her son, Michael Jackson, told her, "Keep an eye out on my catalog." He said, "Some very evil, greedy men want my catalog, Art." His mother said she told him this. Some very evil, greedy men want my catalog. Art, it is a shame what they did to Michael Jackson. Now let's go post-death. Let's go post-death and we're going to end. After Michael Jackson dies in 2009, on November the 11th of 2011, Art, 11/11/11, Conrad, the doctor, Conrad Murray. This is the same day I go to Nat Turner land for the first time. This is my first visit to the Nat Turner War Trail. 11/11/11, Conrad Murray is found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. He does about 5 years in prison. In 2013, Art, Wade Robson and James Safechuck accused Michael Jackson of molesting them for approximately 7 years, with most of the molestation coming between 1988 and 1992. What's wrong with this allegation, Art? Not only did they wait till he passed, but they defended Michael Jackson at his 2005 trial, Art. They defended him and said he was innocent. They defended Michael Jackson against the boy. And after Michael Jackson dies, they come out and say he molested us. Money grab. Straight up money grab. Art, you mean to tell me you get molested between 1988 and 1992, and you wait until 2012. You wait 22 years to tell anybody. 22 years to tell anybody, and conveniently Michael Jackson is dead. But guess what happens, Art? The judge throws it out. In 2015, the judge throws it out. But guess what happens then? HBO, Art, decides to do a documentary on these two white boys, Robson and Safechuck, called Leaving Neverland. And guess who does the promo interview with these two liars? None other than Oprah Winfrey, the richest woman in the history of North America. Can you tell me why Oprah Winfrey would stab Michael Jackson in the back in his death, Art? In his death. She interviews these two liars on her show, promoting the HBO documentary. And guess what happens after the documentary comes out in 2019, Art? In 2020, the courts changed the law, and they say if you was a victim of child sex abuse, we're now going to allow you to bring that old suit back to court. Same thing they did with Puffy, same thing they did with R. Kelly, same thing they did with Bill Cosby. Look at the repetition, Art, the same playbook. The court changed the law, so Safechuck and Robson, who I allege are liars, because how you going to say the man innocent, then he guilty 22 years later? So they bring the court case back after leaving Netherlands. California passes a law reviving the old child sex abuse claims. And in August of 2023, Art, the appeals court ruled that they can proceed with their case against MJJ Productions and MJJ Ventures, claiming that Michael Jackson's companies should have protected them from the child sex allegations. Art, how you going to prove child sex allegations in 2026 and it happened in 1992? 02, 12, 22. Art, that's 35 years later, Art. How are you going to prove Michael Jackson molested you from 1988 to 1992, 35 years later in 2026, Art? Look at this crap. That lawsuit is in the courts right now, Art. That lawsuit is in the courts right now. So I'm saying all that to say that I think it's a shame that all the white people Michael Jackson trusted and all the white kids Michael Jackson trusted, Art, are now suing him and trying to get rich off of him in his death. I think it is a damn shame. And that family, what's the family name, Art? The four sibling?
The Casio family.
Casio, I think it is. They originally defended Michael Jackson too, Art. They said he was innocent. And then they came back after he died and said they got molested. So Michael Jackson estate gave them what, 15 to 16 million dollars allegedly? And guess what they said, Art? It wasn't enough money. They signed it under duress and they want more money. Everybody Michael Jackson helped is trying to rob him in his death. I hope that part 2 of that Michael movie does him justice. I hope our good brother Antoine Fuqua does Michael Jackson justice, because if they're going to slander that man's name, Art, then there's no need to do the documentary.
Druski, gotta ask you about this skit, man, that went crazy viral. How you feel about the backlash it's getting?
I'm going to give a shout out to Druski. Because if I'm going to be honest, Art, when I did that episode of the love show that Druski had, when me and him did that episode, when I was helping him choose the queens, I was a little taken aback by Druski because he had mostly bunnies on there. And my contract with Druski stipulated that all the women were supposed to be black. But when I showed up to film that episode, they were not all black. He had Asian, he had Arab, he had Caucasian, and of course, he Latino. I think he had a Latino and sister, right? So I was a little perturbed by it, but I roll with it because I can deal with it however it comes, and it turned out to be great. But I didn't really see him as the most conscious of black men, right? However, I appreciate Druski for the Erica Kirk's skit because that was a conversation that needed to be had as it relates to people comparing Charlie Kirk to Dr. King. Absolutely ridiculous. Dr. King was not a racist. Charlie Kirk clearly was. And this is a white woman who's part of the face of the conservative movement, who supports the backlash against Black America. So I appreciated Druski for the Erica Kirk skit, and I don't think he went too far. And I appreciated Druski for the skit he made on my British African brothers and sisters, not to insult them in any way, but to just force a public conversation between British Africans and American Africans over this topic of whether or not British African actors are stealing our roles. So first of all, in the skit, it looks like Druski created a collage of different sets from different popular movies starring British African actors. It looked like 12 Years a Slave was in there. It looked like Queen and Slim might have been in there. And it looked like a few other movies. It looked like he focused on movies about American slavery, and it looked like he focused on movies about inner city Black culture and poverty. And I think the point that Druski was trying to make, and the question that a lot of American Africans are asking, especially FBA and ADOS, if you identify as such, I identify as a Black freedman. I don't belong to those organizations. But the question is, why is Hollywood bringing British African actors to America to play roles about Black freedmen that could be better played by Black freedmen? And in the skit, the actor has a snow bunny on his arm. And it's very true. A lot of our immigrant African brothers, they gravitate to white women, but so do Black men here. We got to be fair. And then he's asked a question by a news reporter, do you think your accent is getting you these movies? And I believe that that was sarcastic to say, you don't sound anything like an American African. Why they fly you over here to do an American African role with all these American African actors? The skit was good, not to insult our British brothers and sisters, because I love them. I spent a lot of time in England. I love them. They are my family. I see them no differently than I see my Caribbean Africans, my Australian Africans, my American Africans. I am a Pan-Africanist. I don't do tribalism, sectarianism, and I will not. But I appreciate Druski forcing the conversation. And if Druski continues with these political skits to force these relevant conversations, Art, I support him. I support Druski 100% as long as he's doing this. Now, as far as him dating the snow bunny, that's a contradiction. He's going to have to get his melanin snatched. He's going to have to get his lashes. Hopefully, he'll leave the white girls alone and just be a regular stand-up Black man, find him a sister. I would greatly appreciate that. Otherwise, he becomes a walking contradiction like so many other Black entertainers. But so far, with these skits, Druski get 100% from Dr. Umar. Now let's get into the question, Art. Are British Africans stealing roles in America from American Africans? Why is Hollywood giving British African actors roles where they play American actors when we can play ourselves? Let's get into it. First of all, Art, I want to say this to my fellow American Africans, straight from the gate. Why are we getting mad at these British Africans when all they are doing is accepting an opportunity to do what they've wanted to do their entire lives, which is act on the big screen? They are not in charge of the process, Art. Somebody is coming to them and offering them a role. How are they the problem? They are simply the artists accepting a role. When you are an actor, you don't get work all the time. There's only one Denzel. There's only one Will Smith. There's only one Viola Davis. There's only one Jamie Foxx. There's only one Forrest Whitaker. There's only one Don Cheadle. You're not going to get roles all the time. So when they come, Art, you got to take them. So I can't get mad at my British African brothers and sisters for taking an opportunity. That's number one. Number two, Art, my question to my FBA and ADOS brothers and sisters. If you have a problem with British Africans starring in roles as American Africans, why don't you reach out to the producers and directors of these films? Art, in almost every film where a British African is cast as an American African, there's either a Black producer, a Black screenwriter, or a Black director. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, Art. Selma. Our brother David Oyelowo plays Martin Luther King in Selma. If you don't want brother David playing Martin Luther King in Selma, why didn't you call up Oprah Winfrey? Oprah Winfrey helped produce Selma. Not only that, Sister Ava DuVernay directed Selma art. So the producer black, the director black. If you got a problem with Brother David playing Dr. King in Selma, holler at Oprah. Holler at Sister Ava. Why you blaming Brother David for that? Now I'm going to tell you this, Art. I did have a problem with Brother David playing Dr. King. Not because he's a British African. I love my British Africans. I had a problem with Brother David Ayalowo playing Dr. King in Selma because he is a snow bunny hopper. He is married to a white woman, and I have a problem with any black man playing any black hero. I don't care if you American African, British African, Caribbean African. You don't play a freedom fighter when you are a bunny hopper. So I didn't want him playing it because he got a white wife, but he did a good job. In fact, every movie I've seen of a British African playing an American African art, they did a damn good job. They are just as good as we are because we are all Africans. No group is better than the other. I will say, though, if I was in a room with my British African actors, I would say, listen, do you love and respect your American African family? If they say, yes, I love and respect my American African family, I'm going to say, do you love and respect your American African ancestors? Yes, I love and respect my American African ancestors. In that case, Art, they can play whatever they want to play. But if they tell me, listen, I don't really rock with y'all, I don't really like y'all, I think I'm different from y'all, I don't know much about your struggle, your ancestors, I don't care to know, listen, I just want to act. Hell no, you can't play Harriet Tubman. Hell no, you can't play Dr. King. Hell no, you can't play Solomon Northrop. Hell no, you can't play Fred Hampton. Hell no, you can't play Afeni Shakur, Tupac's mom. If they got a problem with us, Art, they shouldn't be playing us. Straight up. Just like if I have a problem with South Africans, I ain't got no business playing Steve Biko. I got a problem with South Africans. I shouldn't be playing Robert Sobukwe in no movie. If I got a problem with my Congolese brothers and sisters, I ain't got no business starring as Patrice Lumumba in no movie. If I got a problem with my Kenyan African brothers and sisters, I ain't got no reason playing Dedan Kimathi or General Moriama of the Land and Freedom Army. If I got a problem with Haitian Africans, I can't play Jean-Jacques Dessalines or Makandao or Toussaint L'Ouverture. If I got a problem with Black Brazil, I ain't got no business playing Zumbi de Palmares. So if you got a problem with any branch of the African family, you should not, you cannot, you better not be playing their ancestors. Straight up. That goes for everybody. British African, American African, Continental African. Nobody should be playing nobody's ancestors if you don't respect and love them people. Now, when Daniel Kaluuya played Fred Hampton, 2021 Judas and the Black Messiah, he did a damn good job. But guess what, Art? I had to clap back at him. In 2021, I clapped at Daniel Kaluuya, our Ugandan African brother. You know why? He was interviewed while working on the movie, right after the movie, and somebody asked him, Art, what is your opinion on the police brutality that American Africans are suffering from in the United States? And my brother Daniel Kaluuya, who I love and respect, you know what he said, Art? He basically said, I'm not here for that. Why do we have to talk about that? I was offended, bro. Don't you bring your ass over here and play my hero, Fred Hampton, who died and gave his life to fighting against police brutality as a member of the Black Panther Party for self-defense, and you get asked about police brutality. This is right after George Floyd, Art. This is right around George Floyd. And you say, wow, we got to talk about that? Nah, bro. That is disrespect, and it will not be tolerated. Now, to his credit, allegedly, I was told that the good brother Daniel Kaluuya cleaned it up. He made amends for what he said. He didn't mean for it to sound like that. Whatever the case may be, I always give everybody one chance to get it right. If it happens again, you cancel. Don't play my ancestors if you don't respect the people he came from. That's where I'm at with it. He did a damn good job in the movie. The brother is a great actor. I look forward to seeing his upcoming movies, but put some respect on the name of our ancestors. See, here's the thing with me, Art. I don't care about the non-ancestor roles. I don't care about that. Idris Elba, another great actor who I love and respect. He played Stringer Bell in The Wire, right? Stringer Bell. He did a good job as Stringer Bell. And guess what? He could play Stringer Bell till the walls fall off. But when he played Nelson Mandela, my question for Idris Elba, do you love and respect the South African people? And if he does, I ain't got no problem with it. If he don't, he ain't got no business playing Nelson Mandela. See, Queen and Slim, I don't care about that. Wizard of Oz, I don't care about that. Damon Idris, another great actor. I support my brother. He played with Brad Pitt in F1. I don't care about that. I'm talking about ancestors. I don't care about the other films. They can play all that. But when it comes to Harriet Tubman, Fred Hampton, Nelson Mandela, Steve Biko, Denzel Washington played Steve Biko. Terrence Howard played Nelson Mandela, Winnie and Nelson. Do you care about the South African people? If you don't care about the South African people, Denzel, Terrence Howard, what's our sister who played the Queen Mother in Black Panther? Angela Bassett. If y'all love South Africa and the people, I ain't got no problem. But you should not be playing nobody's ancestors if you don't love and respect them people. Now, Cynthia Erivo, it's a little controversy with her because allegedly back in 2013, she tweeted out some tweets, Art, where she made jokes about the ghetto American accent. The ghetto American accent. And a lot of American Africans took offense to that. She was also allegedly implicated in retweeting negative comments about Black people, including allegations that they were jealous of British Africans. 6 years later, here she go as Harriet Tubman. So that one caught a lot of backlash because you actually participated, allegedly, in a slander campaign against the American African people, and then you turned around and took the role of our greatest female ancestor from this side of the water. But Cynthia Erivo cleared it up. She said she didn't say it like that. She said she didn't mean it like that. So if Cynthia Erivo is sincere in that, then guess what? I give her a pass. But if it happens again, you cancel. Just like I told Kevin Hart on that Netflix special. You sit there again and let them devils disrespect my sisters up there on that stage again, I'ma cancel your ass. And I love my brother, but I don't do disrespect. American Africans, I don't do disrespect. British Africans, I don't care. I am a Pan-Africanist. Everybody is held to the same standard. Now, here's the other point too, though, Art. They don't take all the Black roles. Jamie Foxx won an Oscar playing Ray Charles. Jamie Foxx is not a British African. Forrest Whitaker won an Oscar playing Idi Amin in The Last King of Scotland. Forrest Whitaker is not a British African. Denzel plays Steve Biko. Don Cheadle, Hotel Rwanda. Will Smith, Concussion. We've played Africans before. So we can't get mad at British Africans playing American African roles when we play African roles. So we can't be disingenuous, but here's the main thing I want to say though, Art. Here's the main thing I want to say. If we really care about our ancestors being cast properly, or if we really care about us playing our own ancestors, Art, why don't we produce our own movies? Why are you complaining about British African artists? For what? They have a right. This is Hollywood. We don't own it. We don't produce these movies. What you complaining for? Art, if we care that much, why don't we come together and produce a movie on Marcus Garvey? Produce a movie on Ida B. Wells. Produce a movie on George Washington Carver. Why are you waiting for white Hollywood to do it, Art? We got to stop sitting around spending our money on nonsense and begging for what we want. We got enough money. Tyler Perry got the largest movie studio in the country. One of them. If we go to Tyler Perry with a script and say, Tyler, we got our own actors. We want to do this ourselves. We just need you to help us out and let us use your space. I'm sure Tyler Perry would help us out, Art. So to me, this is not about Black British Africans, who I love and respect. I'll be there August 1st for the reparations march in Brixton, London. They my people. Leave them alone. They just doing what they do. What, 6, 7 movies? That ain't the end of the world. If we want to see American Africans play American Africans on the big screen, Art, dig in your damn pocket, pull out your money, and finance your own movies. You getting mad at the employee, but you don't say nothing to the producer. You don't say nothing to the director. You don't say nothing to the casting director. Look at it, 12 Years a Slave. Steve McQueen is a British African, by the way. A British African helped produce 12 Years a Slave. Brad Pitt was involved, or Steve McQueen was probably the director. Judas and the Black Messiah, Ryan Coogler, Art. Ryan Coogler helped produce Judas and the Black Messiah. If you got a problem with Brother Daniel playing Fred Hampton, why don't you say something to Ryan Coogler? You got a problem with Selma, Oprah, and Ava. You got a problem with All Eyes on Me. You could have hollered at Benny Boom. You got a problem with our beautiful sister Naomi Aki playing Whitney Houston. Then holler at Kasai Simmons. There's Black people involved in every movie where a British African was cast as an American African. As far as I'm concerned, Art, we are all one people. We can play whatever we want. We can go wherever we want as long as we respect the community whose ancestor we are playing. Black power.
Well said, man. Well said. But out of curiosity, have you seen this Nelson Mandela movie? It just came to mind when you talking about Druski.
Yes, I did. I saw the Nelson Mandela movie starring our British Caribbean African brother Kingsley Ben-Adair, I believe is the name if I'm not mispronouncing. He did a great job playing Bob Marley in The One Love. I love the movie. I watch it often, just like the others. I watch Judas and the Black Messiah often. Harriet is one of my favorites. Cynthia did a thing. 12 Years a Slave, one of my favorites. The brother Chiwetel did his thing. Selma, I love them all. They do their thing. So I ain't got no issue with watching my British, my continental, my Caribbean Africans do their thing. I do want to say this, though. On behalf of the Jamaican African family in Jamaica, Art, they had an issue with Queen Mother Rita Marley and our brother Ziggy Marley allowing brother Kingsley Ben-Adair to play Bob. A lot of Jamaicans had an issue, Art, not because they have a problem with Kingsley, but they felt a Jamaican should have played Bob. And so do I. I'm not taking nothing away from Kingsley. I want to be clear. He did great, Art. But I stand with Jamaica that a Jamaican African should have played Bob. Now, some of the FBA and ADOS would say, so why are you saying it's okay for Cynthia to play Harriet or Daniel to play Fred, right? Or David to play Dr. King? I'll tell you why, Art. American Africans are frequently on the Hollywood big stage. British Africans are frequently now more than before on the Hollywood stage. You don't see a lot of Jamaican Africans on the Hollywood stage. Delroy Lindo is of Jamaican African heritage. He was in Sinners. He played in Malcolm X. He played in Crooklyn. I love Delroy Lindo, but he's never gotten the respect that he should get, and he's one of my favorite actors. Kerry Washington is Jamaican African heritage. Jada Pinkett Smith, believe it or not, I understand is of Jamaican African heritage. And one of my favorite lady actors of all time is Maj Sinclair. She played in Roots. She played as the Queen in Coming to America. Love that sister. She's Jamaican African. But in recent times, Art, outside of Kerry Washington or Jada Pinkett or Delroy, the Jamaican Africans don't get a lot of their own on the big screen. British Africans, we see them a lot. American Africans, we see them a lot. We don't see Jamaican Africans that much, Art. And with there being so many Jamaican Africans in the world, I stand with Jamaica. Bob Marley should have been cast as a Jamaican African. But I don't have a problem with the job Kingsley did. He did a damn good job in that film. Shout out to my brother. But I want to say this, Art, and I'm going to close with this. There's two main reasons, Art, that they use British Africans to play American Africans in Hollywood. Two big reasons. Number one, Art, financially, they are cheaper. They're cheaper, right? Not because they're cheap. I'm not saying that. But they don't have the resumes of the Denzels, the Will Smiths. Denzel, you know what he gonna charge. Will Smith, you know what he gonna charge. Viola Davis, Jamie Foxx, Forrest Whitaker, you know what they gonna charge, Art. So if I'm a producer with a limited budget, I'm gonna go with the British African star because the American African star might be 2 or 3 times as expensive. So number one, money. And guess what, Art? Number two is also money. You know why? If I let Cynthia Erivo play Harriet Tubman, every American African is going to watch it because they love Harriet Tubman. If I let Brother Daniel Kaluuya play Fred Hampton, every American African is going to watch Judas and the Black Messiah because they love Fred Hampton. But guess what, Art? When the movie premieres in Europe, because these are Black European Africans, when Judas and the Black Messiah premieres in London and France and Austria, when Harriet and Selma debuts in Germany and Paris and Scotland and Ireland, guess what, Art? We're going to get a whole nother audience because they're going to want to see their fellow Black British Africans on the big screen, Art. So it stretches the audience, Art. It stretches the audience. It would be no different if Dr. Umar went to South Africa and played Robert Sobukwe, or I go to the Congo and play Patrice Lumumba, or I go to Guinea-Bissau and play Amilcar Cabral, or I go to Brazil and play Zumbi de Palmares, or I go to I'm missing all my and if I go to Trinidad and play Henry Sylvester Williams or Stokely Carmichael, or if I play Walter Rodney in Guyana, guess what, Art? Everybody there gonna watch it because it's the hero. But everybody in America gonna watch it because it's Dr. Umar, born in Philadelphia. So they do it for financial reasons. They save money on the front and they make more money on the end. Shout out to my British African brothers and sisters. Keep doing what y'all doing. I love y'all. And I will see everybody in Brixton August 1st for the Reparations Day March. Black power.
Well said, well said. But I do want to ask you, this chef that sued Stefon Diggs, you know about this? You've been keeping up with it?
You know, Art, when I heard about the Stefon Diggs case, I didn't pay close attention to it because obviously he was already in the news with all the baby mamas. Of course, him and Cardi just welcomed a beautiful child. Allegedly, they're trying to work it out. I believe my brother Stefon Diggs is a polygynist. I think that's what he is. And I think he needs to be honest with his women about it. I don't know if my brother is being as transparent with these queens as he needs to be. I'm not judging him. I don't know him. I'm just giving my observation. He's one hell of an athlete. He just had another 1,000-yard season. The brother can ball. Tremendous wide receiver. But he got to get his act together because this situation that he just had with Sister Jamila, the chef, that could have cost him his career, Art. This man was charged with felony strangulation, bro. Felony strangulation. If he would have got convicted, NFL career is over, bro. And then he also had a misdemeanor charge of assault and battery, I believe. You can't play with that as a black celebrity. And athletes are celebrities because they are still entertainers. So this sister alleges, Sister Jamila, fine sister too. He definitely got the queens. He definitely got the queens. Butter almond queens. But anyway, she was his living chef. They met on Instagram, started kicking it. They had some intimate moments together. They made some black magic. Then he invited her to come live in the house, be a chef. He going to pay her $2,000 a week. Or is it a month? I think it was a week. I don't see no problem with that, Art, except you turned a sexual relationship into a business relationship. That's kind of hard to do, Art. It's not a good thing. I've done it before. It's not a good thing because black people have a self-hate thing with ourselves, number one. And when emotions get involved, men and women can lose sight on what the business agreement is. So the fact that he done already bent the sister over romantically, that should have warned him to not bring her into your house as an employee. Allegedly, he might have been having his polygynous relations with her, Cardi, another sister, all at the same time. That's their business. It really is their business. All I'm saying to my brother Stefon Diggs, be honest with the queens. And all I'm saying to the queens is be honest with yourself. Most women know, Art, black, white, or purple. You are not going to have a black celebrity to yourself. You barely going to have a regular, hardworking black man to yourself, let alone a celebrity. So stop acting like you thought you were going to be the only woman. That is complete disingenuous for any woman dating a multi-millionaire celebrity to think you're going to be the only one. It doesn't mean he has a right to cheat on you. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying deal with the reality of your situation. I don't know if he physically abused Jamila or not. I wasn't there, Art. But I will say this. If Jamila was innocent and Stefon Diggs did in fact put his hands on her, he was wrong. And she had a right to take him to court. If Stefon Diggs put his hands on that sister, she had a right to have him arrested. I do not tolerate domestic abuse on black women. Too many black women are being hurt and unalived by black men. So if he hit her, she was right. But if he did not hit her If she fabricated those felonious charges, Art, to destroy that man's career because he kicked her to the curb, then she was wrong. Then she was wrong. Now, according to what we saw in court, his attorneys had footage of Jamila the chef shaking her Cinnabons on camera the same day or the next day after he allegedly put his hands on her. So if you just got smacked up by an athletically fit NFL superstar, as you claim, what are you doing on video shaking your Cinnabons? You should be at the hospital with an ice pack at the therapist crying on your friend's shoulder. You ain't partying the way you was partying. And then allegedly they said that Stefon Diggs' hairdresser and some of his other employees testified that Jamila never said nothing to them. They didn't see nothing suspicious. They didn't see no signs of abuse. Now, of course, Jamila's attorney clapped back and said, of course, they're going to say that. They have a financial stake in Stefon Diggs not being convicted, which kind of makes sense. But the video twerking the Cinnabons, I think that video really helped Stefon win and Chef Jamila lose this case. But even when she was on the stand, Art, even when she was on the stand, they was asking her questions and she looked like she didn't know how to answer those questions. She didn't do a very good job making her case on the stand. Again, I'm not going to say who was innocent or guilty. That's between them, their ancestors, and the Almighty. But for Black men in the public eye, and this goes for Dr. Umar as well, we have to get our root chakras under control, Art. We cannot be out here running through these women sexually because Black men and women have a self-hate virus. PTSD, post-traumatic slavery. When you let one of these women go, they will try to destroy you strictly on GP because they didn't get what they wanted out of you. So Stefon Diggs, brother, get you some sexual discipline, start meditating and praying, find you a spiritual system or religion, create your own, bro. But the way you out here crashing out with these queens, don't get me wrong. I know the Cinnabons is amazing. I know the peach cobbler and the cookies and the honeycomb is off the hook. But if you don't get yourself together, brother, you're going to end up losing everything you working for. As good as the Cinnabons are, brother, it is not worth your career. Do better. Black power.
Jamie Foxx, as of late, he been getting a lot of backlash. He got a white woman pregnant, and a lot of people feeling the type of way about it. You heard about this?
I want to say this about Jamie Foxx and his snow bunny hopping. First of all, I love and respect Jamie Foxx. He may very well be the most talented Black man of this century, definitely of his generation, one of the greatest in history. The brother can act, the brother can sing, and the brother is a tremendous comedian. Tremendous. We know he had a health scare not too long ago, Art. He said live on stage that he was done with the snow bunnies, but he only said in public. I want to be honest. I got to be fair, Art. He did say he was done with the snow bunnies in that comedy stand-up he had, but he said in public. But guess what? He lied about that too, because guess what? They not in public, right? They all outside together. His third baby mama. So Jamie Foxx got 3 baby moms with 3 snow bunnies. 3 baby moms with 3 snow bunnies. I don't like it. I don't think it's safe. I don't think he learned his lesson from the last scare that he said his daughter helped save him from. I don't like this. 3 snow bunnies, no Black women. But when I do the psychological analysis, Art, when I do the psychological analysis, not to dig all in my brother's business, but Jamie Foxx was abandoned at 7 months of age by his biological parents. They left him. He was raised by his grandparents. Why am I bringing that up, Art? As a doctor of clinical psychology, as a certified school psychologist, as someone who has studied child psychology since I was 18 years old, I believe Jamie Foxx may suffer from some unconscious, unhealed childhood trauma, Art, resulting from the abandonment of his mom and dad. And I think that he may hold something against Black women. Because in his heart, Art, I don't think Jamie Foxx has come to terms with, and I don't think Jamie Foxx, Art, has completely, if at all, forgiven his biological mother and father, but especially the mother, for abandoning him. And from what I understand, Art, his parents did not live far from his grandparents, and they still didn't participate in his life. So I think Jamie Foxx has some deep trauma, understandably so too, Art. Understandably so. Jamie Foxx probably has some very deep trauma surrounding the abandonment of his parents that has left him untrusting of Black women. I'm not giving Jamie Foxx a pass for triple bunny hunting. Triple bunny hunting is mad work with all these beautiful Black women out here. It's mad work for him to not have been able to get one sister, Art. He got 3 white baby moms. I'm not giving him a pass, but the psychologist in me, the therapist in me, Art, requires that I give my brother a little bit of grace because I understand the parental abandonment and trauma that he's dealing with. He's not excused from triple bunny hunting, but I'm giving my brother some grace because I know he's fighting some internal demons that he needs to one day confront. And I want all my celebrities out there to know, Art, I want them to know that if they need a life coach, I'm here for you. Because a lot of them don't have nobody they can talk to. And I need them to know that they can talk to Dr. Umar privately, confidentially. Nobody will know. And I will take it to my grave. I just want to put that out there if any of my celebrity brothers ever need to have a conversation. And I do talk to some celebrities, by the way, Art. I'll never reveal who they are because y'all know who they are. And we have private, confidential conversations. And I do that with them as their brother because they need that. So shout out to Jamie Foxx. But my dear brother, please let this third Karen, this third ice woman, let this be your last swim in the warm skim milk, Jamie Foxx. Please, brother, for the sake of the race, after you have this beautiful baby, no more pale vagina. Black power.
Speaking of snow bunnies, have you heard about how this text it got leaked online from a white woman, detailing how to trap an athlete?
Yes, I did. The snow bunny trap. Now, first of all, I don't think anybody's surprised, Art. I don't think anybody's surprised to find out that white women are actually working together to entrap rich Black athletes into marriage. Nobody's surprised. The only thing people may be surprised about is how serious and how scientific the snow bunny trap is, Art. So in that text message that got leaked, the girl told her sister or cousin or girlfriend who's already with a Black NFL superstar, she said, I want a football player, preferably an NFL player. And she responded, Art, and said, that's easy, but you got to play your cards right. Look at this, Art. She said it's easy. She said it's easy. She said it's easy for a white girl to get a Black athlete. Art, think about that now. She said it's easy. She didn't say it's going to take some hard. She said it's easy, but you got to play your cards right. She said you cannot be an emotional little girl. So this is what they did, Art, the Snow Bunny trap. They studied black women, Art, stereotypical black women, right? They studied them. And they said, we're going to be the opposite of the stereotypical black woman. They want to be loud. They want to be argumentative, allegedly, right? Because this is the stereotype. Most of our women are not, they want to be loud. They want to be argumentative. They want to control their men. So the Snow Bunny said, we're not going to do none of that. She said, don't look for the cheating. He's going to cheat. Yes. And she basically says, Art, it's okay. Let him cheat. Why is she saying it's okay, Art? Because they're not there for the marriage. They're there for the money, right? So she says, let him cheat. Then what else she said? She says, remember, he is the prize, not you. Art, she says, he is the prize, not you. So she's admitting we don't bring nothing to these black men. Think about this, Art. She's admitting it. We don't bring nothing to these black athletes. The only thing we give them is access to whiteness. That's it. We give them access to the pale vagina. That's it. So she said, remember, he's the prize, not you. He can change your life. You can't change his. Look at this, Art. They are focused on the money. He can change your life. You can't change his. She said, don't look for cheating. She said, women will always throw themselves at him. She said, but you just got to let that go. She says, some of them are going to succeed. He going to clap some cookies. He going to crush some cookies. He going to clap some Cinnabons. She said, that's part of the game. She said, that's part of the game. If you want you an NFL player, this is how you got to act. And then she said, check this part out, Art. She said, he will always be attracted to black girls. I thought this was deep. He will always be attracted to black girls. Just don't let him get emotionally connected. And she said, this is how you deal with the black girls, Art. Check this out. Pick on them. Make the black girls mad and bring Shanae out. She said Shanae, Art. Shanae. Pick on the black girls. Get them angry. Let them turn into Shanae. Let him see them as Shanae, and he will never want to be bothered with her again. Bring out the ghetto in the black woman. Make sure he sees that, and he'll never want to be with her again. And you know what's crazy, Art? What's crazy is these white women are intentionally triggering black women to act a fool so they lose out on the brothers. But the saddest thing about this, Art, this damn near sounds like How to Catch a Slave, don't it? This sounds like slave. This is nigger hunting. These white women be out here hunting niggers, Art, literally. She told her it's easy to catch a black man. And you know what's sad, Art? Even though this was exposed, even though the Snow Bunny trap has been exposed, I will bet you, Art, it will not stop black men from being entrapped by the pelvic vagina. I bet you, brother. They are still going to do it because they have low self-esteem. They don't think much of themselves, and they think the best way for them to improve their life, even with all this money, is to put a white woman on their arm. But this is good. You know why, Art? Because it shows us what we already know. White women are manipulating black men into marriage to be taken care of. And when they get tired of you, Art, they just drop you off. Because what did she tell her? She said if he sleeps around, let him. That's part of the game. We not here to get emotional. We are here for the bag. Insane, Art. The Snow Bunny crisis is absolutely insane.
Cheyenne Bryant, she getting a lot of backlash right now. How you feel about that, man?
Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Let me speak to my sister. Let me speak to Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. And yes, I'm going to call her doctor. I am. She says she is. That's enough for me. Now, let me state for the record, Art, I have a doctorate, a real one, okay? I'm not saying nobody else don't. I'm saying what I got. I went to an American Psychological Association accredited doctoral training program. I am a doctor of psychology and clinical psychology. I will repeat. I am a doctor of psychology and clinical psychology. I am also a certified school psychologist. I also have 3 master's degrees in the field of psychology, clinical, school, and general. Now, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant has exploded into social media space. Her career has really taken off since I first learned of her around the time of my last Nick Cannon interview approximately 2 years ago. I have followed her here and there. She is a stunningly beautiful woman. And she also claims to have her doctorate in psychology. She claims that she went to Argosy University. And I'm not doubting nothing she says because I have no reason to. The school closed down. She has some issues with the transcript, the degree, whatever the case may be. She has a book out now. It's a best-selling book, Art, and it's doing very well. She's being interviewed. She's been on Shannon Sharp. She's been on Nick Cannon. She's been on Cam Newton. She's been on Joe Budden, right? She's a big name amongst the sisters. She goes on the Breakfast Club. And they ask her about her degrees, and she explains about what happened with the school. I don't know the details. I don't care. People start to roast her and attack her, claiming she's fraud. She then goes on Joe Budden. Shout out to them. I didn't see the interview, Art, but allegedly they say Joe Budden and them asked her some really good questions that left more unanswered than answered. For the past 2 weeks, Art, she has been the butt of everybody's internet joke. Here's what I'm going to say. And other doctors of psychology don't agree. Cheyenne Bryant having or not having a doctorate does nothing to my doctorate, Art. It does nothing to my career. It does nothing to my profession. I don't have a need to investigate her. I don't have a need to slander her, to belittle her, to malign her, to assault her. I don't have no need to do anything against that Black woman because she hasn't hurt anybody. She is a life coach, Art, and you don't have to be certified or have a doctorate or a license to be a life coach. She ain't misdiagnosed nobody. She ain't done no clinical work without a license. I haven't seen any wrongdoing from Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. So what do I think is going on here, Art? I believe that Black women, I'm going to call the kettle black. Some men too, but mostly Black women are attacking her out of jealousy. They are jealous of her looks. They are jealous of her life coaching career. They are jealous of her podcast success. They wish they were in her position. And because they are not, they are trying to destroy that woman. Period, point blank in the story. I've told you before, Art, that Black men have a problem with each other, right? We got an ego problem. I think Black women's problem with each other exceeds Black men's problem with each other. What they are doing to Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is absolutely unacceptable, Art. They are destroying this woman more than Donald Trump. They are destroying this woman more than Candace Owens. They're destroying this woman more than Erica Kirk. They're destroying this woman more than the police officers who killed Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, Sonia Bland, Sonia Mancy, Amir Locke, you name it, Art. The enemies of African people have not received the type of vitriol that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is receiving. If y'all want to expose it and be done with it. Everybody has heard the story, Art, but guess what? They going around and around and around with this, Art. And the reason I can speak to this so well, what did Roland Martin try to do to me 11 years ago? He tried to say I didn't have my degrees and brought me on his show and tried to get his panel of to embarrass me because he thought I didn't have my degrees. Other people have tried to say I didn't have my degrees, Art, and guess what? It got so bad. I had to give my college permission to tell people that I graduated from it. Art, they were getting so many phone calls after that Roland Martin lynching that he tried to have, and instead he got lynched with his panel of cooks. They called me up from the registrar's office, Art, and they said, Dr. Umar, these are the good white people from your graduating institution. We are getting bombarded with phone calls as to whether you graduated from here or not and what your degree is. Do you give us permission to let people know you graduated from here and what your degree is? I said yes. And guess what, Art? Even though people could call, the only reason why I'm not saying the college name, Art, because I don't want them to get bombarded tomorrow. You feel me? Even though people could call them and verify my degree, not online, traditional, in person, American Psychological Association accredited doctoral program founded by one of the fathers of white cognitive psychology. I gave them permission to call and verify my credentials. And guess what, Art? You still got niggas out here today who will tell you I don't have a doctorate. They done found my dissertation online. They done found my transcripts online. They done found my graduation pictures. And my degree will hang up in my Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy office. You feel me, Art? My degree will be hanging up once I got an office to put it in. But the reason I'm bringing this up, Art, was happening to Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. It's not happening because she has a doctorate or don't have a doctorate. It didn't happen to me because I had a doctorate or didn't have a doctorate. It happened to me because I'm the biggest name in the world in Black consciousness. I'm the biggest name in the world in Pan-Africanism. I'm the most requested Black scholar in the world. I'm the most influential school psychologist in history. I'm the most requested university guest lecturer of the African race of all time. That's why it's happening to me. Nothing to do with my credentials. Nothing to do with my credentials. And just like with me, who has a real doctorate, whether she does or not, this is not happening to Cheyenne Bryant because she does or doesn't have a doctorate. This is happening to Cheyenne Bryant because women are jealous of her. Period. Point blank. End of story.
You heard about this one guy? His name is Chud The Builder, and he's going around antagonizing black people, calling them N-words, and you heard about this?
I've seen the clips of Chud The Builder. Most recently, Art, if I understand and if my memory is serving me correctly, he is being held after shooting someone multiple times outside of a courthouse. The man he shot was a disabled Black veteran, shot him multiple times. The brother survived outside a courthouse, so they got the video surveillance, and he's being held on $1.25 million bail. $1.25 million bail. Attempted homicide is the charge. He does have an attorney. And to my knowledge, the public defender, Art, didn't want to defend him. The public defender didn't want to defend him, and so he had to go and find someone. I'm going to tell you what I think, Art. I think this is an FBI psyops. I think this is an experiment by the U.S. government to see how Black people will react to overtly violent white racists patrolling our communities. I think this is part of a larger experiment and social agenda that is preparing for a possible martial law or social unrest or civil war to come. Black people need to follow this Chud the Builder case. I'm wondering, Art, if he is a veteran. Do you know if he's a veteran or not? Because most of these crazies, quote unquote crazies, tend to be ex-military cutouts. Do you know if that's the case with him?
Nah, from what I know, he never been in the military.
Okay, okay, okay. Even if he's not, that don't mean he's not an MK Ultra though. Most of the MK Ultra CIA psych op test dummies are ex-military cutouts, but they don't have to be. But I'm having a hard time believing he's just doing this unless he's mentally ill, Art. He could be mentally ill, right? But I'm going to follow his case. I think there's more to this Chud the Builder story than we realize. Much more. Remember, the CIA been working on psychological weapons and perfecting mind control since the 1940s. We are over 80 years of mental research and mind control, Art. So I believe a lot of these mass shootings, every one of them, almost every one of them are involved a veteran. I definitely believe that this was government. The Buffalo shooting, the Valde shooting, most of these mass high school shootings, look at them. They were either military cutouts or their parents were military cutouts. The Family Dollar shooting in Mississippi, look at these people, man. They always have a connection to the military. I wonder if Chud the Builder's parents also had a connection to the military. We're going to have to follow the story.
And to go back to earlier to the Michael movie, Jermaine Jackson, have you heard about how he has to pay a woman over 6 million, 6.5?
I've heard about it. Jermaine Jackson, the older brother of Michael Jackson, has been Snow Bunny. He has been Snow Bunny. It's funny because I'm named after Jermaine Jackson, right? So, 35 years ago, in 1988, this woman, Rita Butler Barrett, claims that Jermaine Jackson came to her home in California, broke into the house, sexually assaulted her, Art. She says that the next day following the assault, she went to Berry Gordy and told Berry Gordy of Motown Records that Jermaine Jackson assaulted me. She said Berry Gordy chose not to do anything because he wanted to protect Jermaine's image. Now, in 2023, Art, this is 98, 08, 18, it's 30 years. 1920, 1, 2, 3. 35 years later, the California state legislature, Art, just like New York with Diddy, they come up with a Sex Abuse Cover-Up Accountability Act, Art, which basically says, just like with Diddy, if you were the victim of sex assault, no matter how far back, here we go again, you can bring civil suit against your perpetrator, Art. But here's the thing. They gave him a 1-year window. You got 1 year, 2023, until December to bring your old lawsuit. And guess what she does, Art? She files the lawsuit under that law the same month the window closed. So she not only waited 35 years, she waited to the last month of the damn window of the law to enter this. Here's where Jermaine Jackson gets himself in trouble, Art. They can't track him down. They can't find him. So since they can't find Jermaine Jackson, her lawyers asked the judge, can they just serve him through the newspaper, Art? I never heard of this. So they get a article in the Los Angeles Times, and they serve Jermaine his subpoena for court in the Los Angeles Times newspaper. He don't see it because I don't know where Jermaine live at. Maybe he's still in Dubai, whatever the case may be. So guess what? She wins a $6.5 million lawsuit, Art, by default because he did not show up to court, bro. This is crazy. Something has to be done, Art, about these snow bunnies who are suing black men for multiple millions of dollars for alleged sex abuse that took place 35 years ago, Art. There's no material evidence. Here's my question to the snow bunny. Why didn't you call the police? He broke in your house, sexually assaulted you, and you don't call the police? You go to Berry Gordy, but you're not going to call the police. Come on, Art. Why didn't you get a lawyer back then? Why didn't you sue Jermaine Jackson back then? Because he was a big name when he was a young boy. Jermaine had a couple hits. He wasn't Mike, but he was. So here we go. Just like Bill Cosby, I'm going to wait till he's old. I'm going to wait 35 years, Art. 35 years. And I'm going to rip this man pockets of $6.5 million because we can't find him. I don't know what he can do, Art, but he got to do something. You know why? Because if he don't fight this, if he can fight it, I don't know if you can open this back up or not. Maybe he got some extenuating circumstances. But if he don't fight this, Art, they're going to put a lien on his property. You feel me? They're going to put a lien on his property, any royalties from the Michael movie, any money he gets from his brother's estate. They're going to get that $6.5 million. So Jermaine Jackson got a fight on his hands. I don't know why he didn't answer it. Maybe he was disgusted by the lie, because I believe it was a damn lie. Ain't no snow bunny waiting 35 years to sue no black man. Come on, man. Look at Shannon Sharp's snow bunny, Gabrielle Asu. She got him immediately, and she was only 19 years old, and she got Shannon Sharp immediately. So you're not going to tell me this woman going to wait no 35 years to get Jermaine. Something has to be done about the sex assault laws in America, Art. It is too easy for these people to destroy black men's credibility, their public image, and their financial lives off of very old sex allegations. Where is the criminal case? Don't you want him to go to jail? Why did you never bring a criminal case? Same thing for Tyler Perry. Same thing for Smokey Robinson. Same thing for Jermaine Jackson. Same thing with the boys with Michael Jackson, because they cases going on. That was almost 30 years ago. Who else we didn't talk? So many people, man. So many black, Bill Cosby, Sean Combs. Look at all these black men being destroyed over old allegations. It's a shame. I feel sorry, man. They're gonna be eating off of the Michael Jackson family forever, Art. They always gonna be fighting. They're gonna be fighting a lawsuit for the rest of their lives, bro. But here's a question I would ask her. Jermaine Jackson left Motown in 1984, Art, for Arista. She said she was assaulted in 88 and she went to Berry Gordy. Can I ask you a question? If Jermaine Jackson is at Arista in 1988 and not Motown, why is he going to Berry Gordy and he's no longer a Berry Gordy artist, Art? Furthermore, why isn't Berry Gordy included in this case? Why wasn't Berry Gordy, not that I want him to be, but why wasn't Berry Gordy and Motown Records implicated in this case against Jermaine Jackson for aiding, abetting, and protecting? So you went to Berry Gordy, he didn't do nothing, but you don't implicate Motown Records in this case, and you claim it happened in 1988, 4 years after Jermaine Jackson left Motown Records? I'm not buying it, Art. He been snow bunny, but I think it's a scam.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I definitely don't believe it. But I do want to ask you about this movie, The Odyssey. You had an issue with it, right?
Man, I remember we had to read the Odyssey back in high school. So the Odyssey and the Iliad are two epic poems written by Homer. Homer is considered one of the fathers of Greek culture, Greek literature. He's considered the first real teacher of ancient Greece. He, just like all of the Greco-Roman philosophers before and after him, they were influenced by or studied in Egypt. Pythagoras studied in Egypt. The Pythagorean theory is not even his. It was stolen from Africa. Okay. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said Imhotep taught him everything he knew. He considered Imhotep a god. Socrates was killed. He drank the hemlock for teaching ancient Egyptian gods in Greece. Although he never went to Egypt, he studied the information and studied under the scholars who came from Egypt. Aristotle never went to Egypt, but he was Alexander the Great's personal tutor who conquered Egypt. So he had access to the books of Egypt. The entire Greek culture and civilization art was influenced, if not outright, borrowed from ancient Black Egypt. In fact, Homer in the Iliad and the Odyssey, he pays homage to the Egyptian who he called Ethiopians. Ethiopia in Greek means burnt face or black face. So that's proof that not only were the Egyptians Black, but he had tremendous respect for them. In fact, Homer said that the Egyptians were the preferred of God, the blessed of God. Remember, the Greeks in the Romans art thought black skin was a sign of divinity. They thought black skin was a sign of divinity. And they believed that Black Egyptians, Black Ethiopians, Black Sudanese were blessed by God because of the great civilization that they built, the great sciences. Remember, we gave Greece astrology. We gave Greece mathematics. We gave Greece art, architecture, spirituality, medicine through Imhotep. We gave them everything, Art. We gave them everything. So for Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is one of the main people, and remember, I debated his father last year at the Oxford Union University in London. Okay, outside of London in Oxford, UK, which is considered the #1 university in the world, by the way. But anyhow, Elon Musk has a problem with Lupita playing Helen of Troy. But here's what I'm saying, Art. If ancient Greece is indebted to Egypt for its culture and civilization, they said this themselves. Because remember, white supremacy don't exist yet. White supremacy don't exist yet. So the Greeks admitted they borrowed from the Egyptians. They admitted they went to Egypt and studied Thales and Pythagoras and Plato. They admitted they went to Egypt. So it was no secret that they borrowed heavily from Egyptian civilization. So why is Elon Musk upset if Lupita plays Helen of Troy? She got a right to play Helen of Troy because there would be no Troy without ancient Egypt. Art, they've done excavations in Greece where they found the skeletons and the skin and the hair of Black Egyptians and Ethiopians in Greece 1,400 years ago, Art. 1,400 years before Christ. Before Christ. So if you go 2,000 plus 14, that's 3,400 years ago, Art. They found Africans, the skeletons and remains of Africans in ancient Greece. And let me give you this, Art. Do you know that there are some people who would argue that Greece was not even a white civilization? They didn't look like Europeans. They were not blonde hair, blue eyes. They had olive skin with dark hair, bro. Some would argue that the Greeks were a mixed race African people, not Arab. They were not part of the Sand Kingdom, but they appeared to look like a mixed race African people, bro. So how can Elon Musk be upset when there is clear evidence of African DNA within Greek society? Look, here's my thing to white folks, Art. Here's my thing. They stole our gods, Art. Amun-Ra became Zeus. Hathor became Aphrodite. Horus became Apollo. Tahuti became Hermes or Thoth. Demeter became Isis. They stole all of our gods and changed their name. What is Elon Musk talking about? And here's my thing, Art. Every Jesus movie, he's white. Every Abraham movie, he's white. Every Noah movies, he's white. Every Moses movie, he's white. Every single prophet in the Bible is cast as a white man or an Arab when they make these Bible movies, Art. So why is it okay for you to lie about what Jesus looked like? Everybody knows Jesus was not a Caucasian. We also know he was African. You saw when the president of Russia opened up the Roman cathedral and showed you all them black images of Jesus and the 12 disciples. We know Jesus was black, but they make every movie of Jesus as a Neanderthal, but you're going to get mad with Lupita playing Helen of Troy as long as Jesus is white. And Mel Gibson is working on another Passion of the Christ movie, Art. Mel Gibson is working on another Passion of the Christ movie. As long as Jesus and all the prophets of the Bible are white in Hollywood, African people reserve the right to play any white character we want. Until you give us back our black Jesus, we are not going to give you back your possibly white Helen of Troy.
I know you real into basketball. Have you been keeping up with that Clay and Megan Thee Stallion situation?
Yes. Megan Thee Stallion, Klay Thompson. I love my brother. I love my sister. She's currently one of our greatest entertainers. He is currently and historically one of the greatest shooters of all time. Although Steph is a greater long distance shooter, I think Klay Thompson, is a better short distance shooter. In other words, Steph is more accurate from deep. Klay is more accurate from mid-range. I think he's the greatest mid-range shooter of all time. With that being said, to answer your question, I wish they could have worked it out because I think they would have made a nice couple. Megan accused Klay of cheating. Klay admits that he told Megan allegedly that he don't think he's ready to settle down right now. He ain't ready for the monogamy right now. I'm paraphrasing. She accused him of getting cold feet, leading her on, wasting her time. I feel like this relationship should have stayed confidential. I don't think they needed to air their business out. However, with that being said, they did a much better job than a lot of other celebrities. I respect Megan Thee Stallion for basically saying, it's over, I'm moving on. She didn't play the hopeless romantic. She didn't play the damsel in distress. He ain't ready, I'm moving on with my life. I respect her for doing that. She didn't really slander him too bad either. Klay Thompson didn't try to destroy her. He said, listen, it may have not actually went down like that, but I did mess up in the relationship. I take accountability for it. I was hoping maybe we could work through it. Obviously, the relationship is over because she went public. Here's what I'm going to say. And I'm talking to black men. First, let me talk to black women. Sisters, handle yourself like Megan Thee Stallion. If the relationship don't work, move on. Don't try to get revenge. Don't try to destroy the man. Don't embarrass yourself and make a fool of yourself because you're not strong enough to move on once you realize you ain't the one he wants. Klay, did he lead her on? Did he know he wasn't serious about her? Did he think he was serious but then found out he wasn't? Nobody knows but Klay Thompson. I'm not going to presume to read his mind. I'm a psychologist, not a psychic. But I will say, as black men, we need to be more honest with our women, Art. We got to be more honest with our women. Don't play with their feelings because you make it harder for the next man. You make it harder for them to love. Every woman who gets hurt, it's going to be that much harder for the next man. So if I am my brother's keeper, I will make a pledge to not take advantage of black women's feelings. If you just want to spend time with them, tell them, I'm just looking for a friend. I'm just looking for a playmate. I'm just looking for a concubine. I'm just looking for a cut buddy. I'm just looking for a sneaky link. Be honest, let them choose. I want you forever, but I want 2 other women with you. Stefon Diggs. Be honest and let them choose. We cannot play with our women. And Art, black men got to get our root chakra together. We got to get our root chakra together. We are too driven by lust and temptation. It's not good for the community. Everybody loves Cinnabons. Everybody loves peach cobbler. Everybody loves some nice hot honeycomb. Everybody loves some warm cookies. But we can't be out here playing with women's hearts, making out of wedlock babies, which Clay didn't do, Megan didn't do. We can't be out here doing that because we are hurting our own community with our lack of sexual discipline. Black men have to get our sexual discipline together. If we don't, it's going to destroy the community. So when I look at Clay and Meg, I respect them both for the classy way that they handled this. Very professional, very clean. Who knows? They might get back together once Klay Thompson gets his root chakra, under control. That's something that we as black men got to work on. I've had to work on it myself. You know what I'm saying? We've all been through that stage, that womanizing stage. At some point, you got to graduate from that. Because if we don't, Art, we will suffer for that. In African culture, there are certain guardian spirits that look out for black women. And if you don't treat them right, you will suffer. Black men, raise your consciousness. Let's start operating out of the crown chakra, the third eye chakra. This is where we need to be, Art. The crown and the third eye. We are all the way at the bottom with the root, being led by our parents. If you do that, you're no better than an animal. What is the message of the Great Sphinx of Giza in ancient Egypt? The message of the symbol of the Great Sphinx of Giza in Kemet, called Egypt by the Greeks. The Giza is the head of the pharaoh on the body of the lion. It represents what, Art? Self-mastery. The Great Sphinx is about self-mastery. We got black men with the Sphinx tattoo. We got black men with the Sphinx statues in their house. But do you know what this represents? This represents self-mastery. You can only become a king if you rule your own kingdom. And the first kingdom that a black man has to rule is the kingdom of himself.
Yes, indeed. So before we end the interview, I gotta ask you, I want to get your point of view on it, because I know you was vocal about it. Dawn Staley, how you feel about that situation when she beat UConn, her and the UConn coach? How you feel about how that turned out?
Yes, sir. First of all, I am a Dawn Staley fan. I've never met my sister. I've been around her before, but I've never met her. She's from North Philly, just like me. To see what she's done with her career, brother, she's going to go down in history as the greatest female basketball coach of all time. She's going to break Gino Auriemma's record. And basically what happened during the semifinals, the national semifinals of the women's NCAA Division I basketball tournament, is Gino Auriemma, who's normally a nice, passive guy, who's also from Philly, by the way. He got Philly roots too. Basically, Art, he had a white supremacy attack. Gino Auriemma had a white supremacy attack because he was angry as a narcissistic white male. He was angry that this black woman beat him in the national semifinals. You got to remember, Art, this man has the most championships of any female college coach. He is used to the referees cheating for him and blowing the whistle for him. But guess what, Art? In that game, they didn't cheat for him. In that game, they called that game fair. And because they called that game fair, the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks won. But here's the thing, Art. Gino beat Dawn last year. Remember, he beat her last year. They got cheated. The referees would not call no fouls on the UConn girls. They got robbed. This year, they allowed it to be a fair match. So my thing to Gino, y'all know y'all cheated last year, or the referees cheated for y'all. Why are you upset that you lost to this black woman? But what the Gino Auriemma situation shows you, Art, is that a lot of white men can't stand to be defeated by black women. They can't stand to have to compete with black women. The only time they like black women is when they're crawling on top of them. Okay? And this shows you how disgusted a white man can become, even a white man who most people perceive as a nice white man. This shows you how disgusted with black power a white man can become when they don't get their way with a black woman. He walked to the middle of that court and basically cursed her out, allegedly. And he claims, Art, it was because she didn't shake his hand at the middle of the court before the game. Who in the hell is thinking about a handshake at the beginning of a game when they just lost the national semifinal, Art? That had nothing to do with Dawn not shaking his hand at the beginning of the game. You are mad you lost and you wanted to curse her out or chew her out, because I'm not going to say he used profanity at her, and you took the occasion, instead of congratulating her, Art, for winning, he basically yelled and screamed in our sister's face, and I did not appreciate it, and I don't appreciate the NCAA, Art, for not punishing him. To my knowledge, UConn coach Gino Auriemma received no fine, no sanction, no punishment, no disciplinary measure after disrespecting that black woman at the end of that game. Art, imagine what would have happened if a black male coach, after he loses, goes to the middle of the court to shake the hand of the white female coach who just beat him, and instead of saying congratulations, start yelling and screaming at her because she didn't shake his hand before the game. He might have lost his job, Art. If a black coach would have done what Gino Auriemma did to Coach Dawn Staley at the end of that semifinals, he may have lost his job. But because he's white, and because the black woman is the most unprotected woman in America, because he's white, and because the black woman is the most unprotected woman in America, he got away with it. And even at the post interview, Art, they said, so what are you thinking? He said, I don't have anything to say about her. Blah, blah, blah. I'm paraphrasing. He even said, I don't have anything in common with her at all. Why would you say that, Art? I don't have anything in common with her at all. He all but called her an N-word, to be honest with you. He all but called her an N-word. He is pissed off that he got his ass whipped by a small in stature black woman from the ghetto of North Philadelphia, 22nd and Diamond Street, North Philly in the building. I love Dawn Staley. I'm proud of Dawn Staley. And Coach Gino Auriemma, although he did apologize to her later, Art, that does not excuse his behavior. And it shows you how racist the NCAA is for not punishing him for that. Because if a black male coach did it to a white female coach, he may have lost his job, had been suspended for some games, or at least would have had to pay a large, hefty fine. Go, Lady Gamecocks.
Well said, man. Well said. Dr. Umar, man. Great interview as always. Very insightful. Before we end the interview, I gotta ask you, what do you got going on and where can the people find you?
What we got going on? Well, number one, Art, with the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, the school's still done. We still trying to get our building inspection. They still delaying us. So we still fighting that fight. School just sitting there, brother. School just sitting there ready for us. We still fighting for that. What we got next? Juneteenth. I got a triple Juneteenth. Thursday, Franklin, Virginia, Nat Turner Land, the 18th, 6 o'clock. Friday, Hampton Event Center, Friday, 6 o'clock. Saturday, Dothan, Alabama. That's from noon until 8. I will be speaking in Cincinnati, August the 20th for the International Association of Black Firefighters Convention, Cincinnati, Ohio on August the 20th. London, England, August the 1st, the Reparations March in Brixton, England. Malcolm X Day, Tuesday, May 19th. We'll be up at Malcolm X's gravesite to honor El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. I got some other events coming up, some international stuff coming up. The big thing is FDMG. Also, Art, I want to let all your viewers know if they want to join the Dr. Umar Online Book Club. I now have an online book club. You got to join through my Patreon. So make sure you go to patreon.com/DRUMAR for the online book club. Patreon.com/DRUMAR. You can join as a regular member, $7 a month. Book club, $10 a month. And if you want to be in the book club, this is the perfect time. We just started our third book, and we are reading Race First by Tony Martin, the organizational and ideological struggles of Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association. We're about to get started, so order your book. Go to patreon.com and sign up. Make sure you donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Get on your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy, paypal.me/FDMG Academy, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. If you need to reach me, text message 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Email princeofpanafricanism@gmail.com, princeofpanafricanism@gmail.com, and we spell Africa with the K. Black Queens forever, snow bunnies never.